All right, and we are live. Before we get into chatting about one of the more disappointing games I can recall, and definitely the most disappointing of the season, I just want to put a call out to Pistons fans. The fan reacts. This is your chance to come up and get your thoughts out about the game. Get your frustrations off you. Any of the thoughts, you can come up. Just talk Pistons. We're going to go for as long as you guys want to talk. So please DM me now on Twitter or Instagram if you're on that. And yeah, I'll get you up. But we have a few guests scheduled for tonight. But whilst it's a bit of a somber night, I'm very, very, very happy to have my man here. West Davenport does amazing work over at the Pin Down with Detroit Bad Boys, the Pistons Pulse, does a heap of stuff. And as I said on our last stream, probably the most level-headed Pistons fan / podcaster I know. So, Wes, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on tonight's game, but thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me again. I'm really excited to be back on and talking hoops with you again, Jack. But I feel like maybe you shouldn't be excited that I'm back on. This is two pretty big disappointments in a row where I've
I
joined you on this stream after the game. Maybe I'm bad luck.
Was it after the Cavs game, the
I
first
think
one?
so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
that was
Because it was
the other.
Blake and I, right?
Yeah, that was the other rough game. So I feel like every other game's been pretty solid, but yeah.
I mean, I was just getting flashbacks. You're doing the intro talking about how another disappointment. I'm like, this sounds real familiar to me.
Oh man, I've already got some funny comments in here, but I'm just gonna pull these up. But Wes, the Pistons lose to the Knicks on their home floor. I think the final score was 98 to 128, 30-point
Yep,
blowout. Sometimes it felt like it could have been more. Um, Thoughts?
definitely. Well, it wasn't good. I don't think there's any way we could really spin that one. There wasn't much that went right. Um, and there was a lot that really seemed to go wrong for these guys. I mean, it's one thing when the Knicks play really well. They did. They're a really good team, so that's going to happen. But they came out flat. The Pistons did came out flat, never really recovered. The issues that I assume we're going to get to talk about here were consistent, shall we say, even when the end of the bench got in at the very end of the game. So just, this one, maybe you just burn that tape and try to move on, but it was not good at all.
So I like because I think burn that tape and just move on. I think for any other team, probably in the NBA, that's what the fan base would say. Like, just forget about it. The Knicks are probably going to be a top 3, top 2 team in the East. They're really pushing for a championship. That starting five's crazy good. It's kind of a matchup nightmare for the Pistons and a lot of teams. But I think where fans are frustrated and angry is this team. It feels like you can't just say burn it. Don't never think about this game. Just with what we've been exposed to in the past season, in particular, but probably the past 2 years. Um, what would you say to that if someone said that to you? Like, because I'm
You know,
with you.
it's
I think part of it. Sorry to
it's
cut
tough.
you off.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts, but I'm actually with. Like, I think you can. Part of me is just like Cat is a nightmare for this team. Like, maybe you do just burn the tape, but I get why Pistons fans are like, no, this team sucks.
Look, it's one of those where I completely agree, and I also disagree a little. Only
Yeah.
so practically, if you're JB Bickerstaff right now, there's no other option. You have to just say, look, guys, that was awful. You guys got kicked in the teeth. Let's never let that happen again. Better not happen again, and let's try to move on. But from our perspective, from the fan perspective, and honestly from the perspective of a lot of these players, a lot of this core returned from last season. Yeah, you're completely right. This wasn't new. We've seen this exact story play out numerous times last season with low energy, bad defense, lots of turnovers, and not nearly enough free throw attempts. And as well, what they shoot from three? 32%. Yeah, not great either. So, yeah, we've all seen this a lot, and I wouldn't say that fans should be burning this tape at all.
Yeah.
I think it's a trend and it's relevant. So, yes and no.
No, I think you've explained it perfectly. Like, as you said, for JB and that coaching staff, it's you can probably point a lot of things out, but they pretty much play Brooklyn in, I think it's Sunday afternoon for you guys in the US. So it's not long away, like not far away. It's a much different team, but yeah, I think as fans, every fan has a right to say this is the same old Pistons. Like you can't come out like that after beating an Embiidless and Paul Georgeless Philadelphia team. You know, we were all happy with the win. I feel like that game in Philly, they were up by 20. They kind of did what they were supposed to do, but you see the celebrations after the game. You see the Halloween stuff last night, the party. Like I like the vibes, but I'm also like, you can't come out with that. Like for me, it was the energy was horrible in that first 6 minutes. Like some of the turnovers from everyone, not just Cade. I think Cade only finished with one, but like
Yep.
from everyone, like it was like, do you guys care? Like that, I hate that I'm asking that question, but it was just so like lethargic, and the Knicks just punished them every single time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, from where at least how I was watching, I was much more concerned on the other end of the floor with how that game started. I agree, the energy looked really bad, particularly with. Okay, actually, maybe not the energy. Jalen Brunson abused Jaden Ivey
Yeah.
tonight. Jaden Ivey was the main guy checking Brunson when he was in the game, and Ivey had absolutely no answers. Not that many do. Not that many do. Brunson's a great player, but that was incredibly evident. Jalen Duran was awful.
Yeah.
Can't put that any. I mean, both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
He had 5 points. He missed a free throw. He only had 7 rebounds and he had 3 turnovers.
Mm.
Awful. His defense was terrible too. Obviously. So, and also on top of that, the Knicks just kept getting this drive, swing, wide open corner three, and almost all of those, the fault starts on the guy guarding the ball on that first drive because that's the guy that forced everyone to rotate. So unless someone else misses an X out there on the back end, which by the way Duran did a couple of times, it's not anyone but the first guy's fault. And the first guy tended to be Jaden Ivey and Tim Hardaway Jr. And that
Yeah.
happened a lot in the first quarter. It was just ugly, really ugly.
Yeah. And like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. Let's just have the conversation because I think that I don't think Jalen Duran's the only reason they lost tonight. Like Jaden Ivey, I think
No.
it was a whole team loss. Like that, I think
Mhm.
Ron Holland showed a little bit just driving to the rim that I liked, but man, like he obviously has his frustrating moments, but he's only a rookie. Like I can't. Like, but I think sorry, what I'm saying is let's talk about Jalen Duran because it's not just this game. It's pretty much been ever since. Like I thought he was good in the first quarter against the Pacers. Otherwise, man, like I know his box scores looked solid and
I
he's
didn't.
had some block shots, but yeah, I don't want to bash him, but I think it's time to just have the conversation about his role on the team right now. Maybe not for the future. I think we're only 6 games in, but just right now, what do you think? What would you do if you were coach?
Well, oh, well, that's a tough question.
Or answer it how you would like.
Well, first thing I would say is that we as fans kind of have a benefit of hindsight here, and maybe JB Bickerstaff doesn't as much. So maybe JB will be a little bit more lenient than what us and maybe a lot of fans watching this would be and would like to be. But I would say by and large, Jalen Duran looks very similar to how he did last season. Turnovers are still high. He's a very, very good offensive rebounder. He's a very good lob threat. The defense is very, very bad. He misses rotations. He's not a good communicator. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't get steals, and he just can't figure out drop coverage for the life of him. I mean, the difference between pick and rolls, even tonight. So pick and rolls between Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns when Jalen Duran's on the floor versus when Isaiah Stewart's on the floor, it is night and day. I mean, Isaiah Stewart even made a couple of plays. One in particular, he forced McCall Bridges to just take a really awkward looking mid-range floater
Yeah.
because he actually played two. He played the role, he played the ball, he made it hard for the ball handler to make a decision. He forced a weird shot. You don't get any of that out of Jalen Duren. And
Yeah.
then he doesn't help anyone else out either, because whether it's because he's processing it slow or he's just not a great communicator, those two things at the end of the day, very similar. So, like, if it's me, I don't know how you can continue to um, sink 30 minutes into a guy, or plan to sink 30 minutes into a guy who's that much of a negative on defense and also tends to be turnover prone offensively. And oh, by the way, he can't shoot. Um, Now, that's
Yeah.
not to say Isaiah Stewart's been great. I think he's been very good defensively. His offense is a mystery to me
Yeah.
right now. He had 2 points, I think. Yeah, 2 points. I mean, he turned down a wide open three to try and dribble drive and then do like a between the legs step back and almost
How
lost the ball.
considering
It's like,
all the
what are you
turnovers
doing?
tonight considering all the turnovers tonight, I have no idea how
And
the
that
Knicks did
wasn't
not
one of
steal
them.
that. I
That
know,
wasn't
I
even a
know.
turnover.
I don't know how Stu actually remained with the ball in his hand, but that was an interesting moment.
Right. It's like, what was the thought process here? You had a wide open three, and then you drove. You're never going to take that shot. You never want him taking that shot in the first place. So he's not a good fix here. He fixes your defensive side. He's not what you're losing with Duren offensively is legit. So I especially as a screener too. Isaiah Stewart had a couple of nice screens I thought in the fourth quarter, but otherwise he's generally not the best at it. So I I get it if Bickerstaff chooses to continue to invest minutes into Jalen Duren, but it's they're in a really tough spot with the five position. That's what I'll say.
Yeah,
They're in a really, really tough spot.
I agree. It's definitely become the biggest uh storyline slash issue, I think, for like Pistons fans watching this. There's plenty of other issues, but I feel like every game we're talking about the issues at the five position. And like, yeah, I understand like what Duran brings offensively, and I think no matter what though, like you were saying, you can't continue to pour in 26 to 30 minutes with this Jalen Duran. Like, it's if you are watching these games, it's just clear that this team, whilst they are not good with Isaiah Stewart on the floor because of his offensive issues, like they're just more competent defensively. Like if you're
Yeah.
watching, it's so obvious, and it's at the point where, and like you saw Jalen Duren get taken out. I think within like I think Stu was up off the bench at the 11-minute mark in the third
Yep.
because Jalen Duren clearly missed an assignment that they just discussed at halftime to do with Karl Anthony
He
Towns.
was
I think Cat,
low
yeah,
on
the Cat hit a
Karl
three.
Anthony Towns. Yeah, so he
Yeah,
he was way too low on Cat,
yeah,
and Cat got a wide open three. And then the play before it as well, I thought was pretty bad. Karl Anthony Towns got the ball. Yeah, he got the ball on the wing, and Jalen Duren wasn't in a stance, so he just drove right around him for a wide open layup. So it was two in a row. Like, they came out of halftime, and Cat
yeah.
got maybe the easiest 5 points he saw all night, back to back.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so you can see there, obviously, JB, like, I mean, he'd obviously be aware of these issues no matter what. He doesn't have to listen to us
Oh,
to
he
know
was
that. But
obviously aware. He pulled him.
yeah, but that to me was a pretty big like signal slash sign for things to come. Maybe that even if Jalen Duren continues to start, maybe that leash in terms of minutes is a lot shorter.
Well, it should. And I want to get ahead of one thing that I do tend to hear on Twitter and just in like talking with friends about this specific issue, and that's the rebounding. So Jalen Duren's obviously a very good rebounder, and a lot of times a pushback that I at least hear, and maybe you hear it too, with talking about how bad he's been defensively, is that, oh well, at least he ends possessions because he's a good rebounder. Jalen Duren doesn't box out. Jalen Duren
No,
gives up a lot of offensive rebounds. I can't put that in any other or any nicer of a way.
I think
The Celtics abused that. The Knicks abused that tonight. It's been consistent. He tries to out athlete people. He doesn't box out. Andre Drummond got a free throw rebound and then
that
an
that
and one
that
against him
yeah, that's
because he
what's
didn't box out. Like,
yeah.
it's
It's
not an
yeah.
advantage.
No, and I think I think he's a really good offensive rebounder, but yeah, like that's the thing that surprised me as well. Like, just you're not even feeling him at, like, I don't even think he's having big rebound games. Like, it's just, and I agree with you, he doesn't box out, and he often just relies on his athleticism, which you brought up Andre Drummond, that play, but it just once again reminds me of Andre. Andre didn't really used to box out, very rare. Um, yeah,
One
I
final
mean,
thing, real quick, Jack.
go for it.
If for everyone watching, if you guys want to look for like little things, because it's a lot of these little things that are going wrong too. Uh, if you go back and rewatch this game, which if you do, God bless you. That was a rough one. But if you do, go back and watch when you have a change of possession. Jalen Duren versus Isaiah Stewart. So Isaiah Stewart, when there's a change of possession, he runs back generally as fast as he can. Not always, but 9 times out of 10, he goes back, gets 2 feet in the paint, turns around, and then checks Cat, finds him, and steps up. Jalen Duren does not hardly even get below the 3-point line. And Jalen Brunson took advantage of this, at least on one possession that I noticed, where there was just a completely wide open paint because
Yeah,
Duren didn't get back to it. He
isn't
drove right around THJ and won.
yeah,
So, yeah.
it's yeah. Can I ask you, like, is it fair to say you're out on Jalen Duren and have been for a minute?
I've been for a minute.
Yeah. So
I'm hopeful. I
yeah,
don't like that it's looking like maybe I was right. I wish I was wrong.
yeah. So what? Yeah, like I know we've kind of gone through it, but do you think like he still has to play minutes just because, like, I think
Yeah.
some people have suggested bench him and Paul Reed give those minutes to him. Yeah, what do you think if there's a positive way to kind of just close? Because I feel like I'm going to be talking about Jalen Duren with every single person who comes up today. Is there a positive way we
Probably.
can spin this Jalen Duren situation? Because part of me thinks maybe if he's coming off the bench or playing less minutes, you're not going to see the strides we hoped, but I think maybe like he just looked so lost. And I thought his effort the past 2 games hasn't been good, and that's on him. That's unacceptable. But part of me feels like maybe his confidence is really starting to take a turn in the wrong direction. And yeah, like I just think no matter what, this team still needs him to figure it out. So we can't just like trade him because his trade value is low. Like what would you do? Like, is there a positive way to look at this situation?
I think you'd have to hop in a time machine and get a lot more of very good perimeter defenders, so you're not putting him in
Yeah.
these positions to get exposed like this as frequently as they are. It you know it, 80 to 90% of it, I would say, is probably on him. I mean, he's not cleaning up when the guards make a mistake, and that's quite literally his job as the 5-man. But at the same time, the guards are making a lot of mistakes, especially tonight against the Knicks. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jaden Ivey were pretty brutal defensively out on those guards for New York. And that's not putting him in a good position. Does Isaiah Stewart handle that a lot better? Yes. Did I think Paul Reed handled that a lot better? Yes. Is it still a problem of the guards? Yeah, they need to do better there as well. And if I
Yeah.
could leave you one more note that you might want to have some fun talking with the future guests, Jack. Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, guess how many free throws they shot tonight
Oh, I must admit I wasn't
combined?
as I'm gonna say 0.
0.
Yeah, I don't
Not
remember.
a one.
How many did the team shoot? I think
7.
that was one of the things I was disappointed with. Like, yes, Cat is a nightmare offensively in terms of how you defend them 5 out, but like, I just feel like they didn't even in that first quarter attack him. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought Cade and Ivy could have been like Ivy went out in the first quarter with foul trouble, but I just didn't
Yeah.
feel like they attacked Cat enough, like putting him in enough pick and roll. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but it probably wouldn't have. But I just didn't think like Cat they just kind of let him do what he want, and then they were just settling for jumpers. But 0 free throws between those two, you can't blame the refs for that. That's just a lack of aggression,
No.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
We've still got a few minutes here, Wes. So where do you want to take it? I'm going to turn it to you.
Oh. Oh, that's tough. There are so many options where we could continue on with this one. How about why don't we do a little bit of a positive? I thought Marcus Sasser was actually pretty solid tonight. He was forced to do some spot minutes there when Ivy got into foul trouble early. Although I'm not entirely sure that the minutes he got in the second quarter, if that was Ivy foul trouble related or Ivy defense related, regardless, regardless, I thought Sasser actually he made a solid impact. He
Yeah,
was pretty good defensively. He was active. I don't think he hit a three. He did not. He was 0 for 1. Actually, he was 1 for 2 from the floor. So he really didn't even get up many shots. But I thought he was solid. He moved the ball well and he played pretty good defense, which
yeah,
good for him fighting to get rotation minutes here.
yeah. No, that's I like that you've brought a positive spin. Can I ask you about this Brooklyn game now? I know the Lions play at the same time, so not many people are going to be watching it. But what? Because like that, because Brooklyn have like shown some stuff, like, and they're playing in Brooklyn, so like I'm not confident at
Mhm.
all they go in and get the win. Um, Even after that win against Philadelphia, like I'm not overly confident they come out of there with a win. How are you feeling now after watching this Knicks game?
Um, well, I would have hesitated to predict a win no matter what. I think that collectively we're all kind of being forced in brutal fashion to come to the conclusion that the problems of this team were not 100% on Monty Williams last year. That's not to say Monty Williams did a great job. He did not. He was pretty awful. But there were reasons beyond coaching that this was the worst team in the NBA. And you've returned quite a lot of the same core, but added some shooting. So I think they are better. But turnovers, defense, lack of energy, these are all problems we saw last year. The lack of energy has been better up until tonight. So hopefully that goes away. But they are still a pretty dang bad basketball team.
Yeah, I think that was the most disheartening thing about tonight is just not being in the game at all. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I think I don't know if I said this to you to start the stream or when just before we hit live, but I kind of expected when we organized this earlier in the week to be talking about a loss, but I didn't think the game would be over in the first 6 minutes. I think that's
me
the
either.
thing that has a lot of fans so flat.
Well, and I think we were talking about it the last time when Blake and I were on after that Cavs game that like, look, if they keep playing with high energy and high effort, they're going to catch a few teams. They did not play that way against the Knicks. So if they play that way against the Nets, I mean, it'll be competitive basketball. I'd hesitate to predict a win, like I said, but it'll be like the all the games prior to the next one. It'll be close. It'll be entertaining and maybe a brutal loss, maybe a nice win like it was against the Sixers. Who knows? But if they come out flat again, they don't have the talent to do that. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah. No. Do you think I saw a lot of comments and stuff around some people in the chat here talking trades.
Huh. It's
My
too
thing with
early.
yeah, I think it's too early. I get why fans are at that point already, but I think my thing with Duran and trades, because that's the name that keeps popping up, is like I kind of think his value couldn't be lower right now. So maybe just see if you can get him going in other ways off the bench, reduce minutes, light a fire in him. Maybe that helps. Like I know you've outlined beautifully his issues, like defending the pick and roll, drop coverage, miss rotation. That like I know those are issues that probably won't be fixed this season, definitely, and long term we don't know. But like, yeah, you kind of answered it then.
The
But thoughts on trades and with Duran specifically?
Yeah, I think it's too early to start talking about trades. There's a lot of season to go before you even get close to trade season in the NBA. I mean, I guess stranger things have happened before, but I just think it's a little too early. With Dern and like maybe lighting a fire under him and that kind of stuff, I'd just say it comes down to how confident you are in Cade Cunningham. We saw in Cade's rookie year how he struggled to not have a pick and roll lob threat style big to play with for significant minutes while he's out there. And Isaiah Stewart and Paul Reed are not that by any stretch. So you are losing a little bit offensively, not even a little bit. You're losing quite a bit offensively by reducing Jalen Duren's minutes. And even though he's a turnover prone player, there's a lot of value to the screens that he sets, the outlet that he gives Cade in pick and roll, and then the offensive rebounds he generates. So it's kind of a what are you willing to give up? I guess. Are you
Yeah.
willing to have one of the, if not the worst starting five defender in the NBA right now? Or do you want a rather ineffective offensively Isaiah Stewart to be playing 30 minutes a night next to Cade Cunningham and really putting it all on him, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I can't believe. Like, did you expect at this stage of the season to be having this conversation about the center position? You actually might
Yeah,
have.
I
Yeah.
did. I did. I like I said, I've been very, very concerned about Jalen Duren's defense for a while.
Yeah.
I like to relate it to if you had a really young point guard and they just really struggled to run the offense and really struggled to create plays for others, very turnover prone, that type of thing. You don't generally expect them to suddenly become Steve Nash or JC Kidd or Luka Doncic,
Yeah.
like in terms of how they're processing the floor in front of them. You could think that, hey, maybe they'll get to average one day and we can get away with them running the show, but you don't think they're going to be good. And even though Jalen Duren said over the offseason that he just needed to play harder on defense, like the truth is that's part of it, but he also is just reading things very slowly. He's not processing it very well at all. And I think that it's very similar. If a point guard's the quarterback of your offense, the center's the quarterback of your defense.
Yeah.
So I've just been skeptical that it's ever going to get to that average to above average for a while,
Yeah.
if at all.
Yeah. I think last season for me, like I think there's a small part of me that's still hopeful he can figure it out. But I think from what I saw last season, uh yeah, there was a large sample there, like even at his age, to be quite concerned. And just so far this season, we probably, yeah, he hasn't shown the growth we would like, to say the least. Uh, I'm still waiting for Downtown Deuce to join, but any other thoughts, Wes, before I let you go? I can solo it up here. I'll try my best,
Gotcha.
but we got
Sounds good.
time. So if you
Well,
do you have
yeah,
any other
then
thoughts?
I'll just say to that, to the last thing that you said, you can get away with having a bad to below average center on defense, even if they're not a shooter, right? You can get away with it. The two questions are: one, do you have the means to get four very good perimeter defenders? And then two, are the things that big can do offensively, such as setting screens and rolling to the basket and catching lobs and getting offensive rebounds, are those valuable enough to basically forego high level offensive guard play in search of just pure two-way guys 1 through 4? I tend to think the answer to that's no. But in terms of just a practical thing, you can do it and have a halfway decent team. The Pistons kind of did it with Andre Drummond that first time they made the playoffs with that crew. They just kind of leaned into him as a pick and roll guy. And I mean, to be clear, Drummond was a better defender than Duran is right now, but he wasn't great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, I guess can I ask you then, like, because the Pistons, like, they desperately need a Sarr Thompson back, but we don't know when that's coming. Um, Thoughts on kind of Simone Fontecchio and just some of the other Pistons wings, like Tim Hardaway Jr. I think we know what he is, but yeah, what the Pistons are getting from their wings, because I did see someone say trade everyone, their wings are hopeless. It's to be expected after a game like this. But I think Tech in particular, we've spoken about the injuries, but I've kind of been disappointed with what we've seen from him.
Yeah, I've been disappointed with Tech and Malik Beasley. Actually, I think Fontecchio, he's not passive anymore. I think his offense has kind of picked up. He's looked better the past couple of games. Even tonight, I thought he played okay. Didn't stand out either way, positively or negatively. But in a game like that, I will take that. Everyone else stood up very negatively, so I'll take the neutral there from Tech. But yeah, I was expecting more out of him. I thought that he would be able to provide more, just in terms of volume catch and shoot threes. Now he's not a guy that you'd ever really want self creating a lot of looks, so it's possible this is just a function of guys not getting him the ball in spots that he likes. But it seemed to me, especially early on, that he's passed up on open looks that he should have taken. And even against the Sixers and now against the Knicks, there were a couple that I thought he should have actually put up. So I've been disappointed with him as well. And with Malik Beasley, he's just handling the ball a lot
Yeah.
more than he has, at least that I think that he has in any point prior in his career. And that's not really his game. I understand leaning into a separate guard handling the ball more when Jaden Ivey's effectively the de facto point guard. I get that because Ivy's not a pure point guard and you want to take some pressure off of him. But honestly, I'd rather go with Tim Hardaway Jr. for that. Tim Hardaway Jr. has actually been used in that role before. He's done it quite a bit with the Knicks when he was younger, and then every now and then with Dallas, he's got a little bit of history just initiating here and there. And he looks comfortable enough with it. It's more of a spot thing. It's not something you'd really lean on
Yeah.
consistently, I guess. But just in terms of taking pressure off of Jaden Ivey, which I agree with, I would like to do that too. I haven't loved Malik Beasley being the one to do it. It seems to me that most of the time, if he's getting a pick and roll, if he's getting a screen set for him, shots going up, whether it's good or not. I don't love the self-created threes. He's been throughout his career just a catch and shoot merchant from three. And when he has gotten catch and shoot looks, they've been pretty good. But that's not the majority, or at least I don't have numbers to back that up, so I shouldn't say it. It doesn't seem to me like that's the majority of his attempts. So I've been pretty bummed, disappointed with both of those guys so far. I've expected more.
Yeah. No, I think Beasley, the thing I've liked about Beasley is he's no hesitation on some of his shots, like catch and shoot. I actually don't mind that he shoots some with like a bit of a hand in his face at
Oh, I
times. Like,
love that. That's his role.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do agree watching him run pick and roll and like I don't mind if he pump fakes one or two dribbles, gets to the mid range or side steps, of course. I think you're fine with that. It's some of the initiating of offense has been strange. I guess we'll finish up here, Wes. Because I don't want to hold you too long. There was some discussion on the timeline throughout the game about the Pistons. Obviously, we know they need a backup point guard. That we've known that the entire offseason. It's a missing piece on this roster for sure. But there was some chatter about how Cade, in particular, might not be a point guard and might need more support in that role. I think it was Vince Goodwill brought it up. He compared SGA and Cade being similar players and how SGA had Chris Paul early in his tenure with the OKC. I actually don't mind that. And I think Cade's a point guard, don't get me wrong. But this is why, and fans will think I'm insane, but this is why I liked Corey Joseph back in Cade's rookie year. Because when Cade would
Yeah.
have a turnover, and I'm talking about Cade and Jaden Ivey, when they have a turnover, particularly when it's one where they get the ball picked from them, it's nice to have that other player who can bring the ball up and take the pressure off them. Now, when Jaden and Cade are on the floor together, they kind of have that. But when they're not, that's when we're seeing Malik Beasley handle it or that kind of thing. Thoughts on getting a backup point guard like ASAP?
I think it's a little too early to jump into that.
Yep.
So, with Vinny Goodwill's tweet specifically, I'd say that there's a little bit of a difference between having the guy, still play point guard, like you said, and then exactly as you explained, having someone just to take a little bit of the pressure off. I know the turnovers have been kind of high in most of the games so far this season, and Cade in particular has had a few nights that have really stood out as high turnover games. But for the most part, I've actually thought that both Cade and Ivy have been fairly effective in the roles that they're playing right now. I mean, you look at that 76ers game, which it's kind of cherry picking because that's the game that they won. But Cade, Ivy, and Maxey were the three best players on the court for either team. Against the Pacers, similar story. The Pacers just had a little bit more talent. I just think by and large, outside of this Knicks game, the two guys you are pretty consistently saying are the best players on the court for Detroit are also the two guys that are handling the ball the most often. And with the roster as it is right now, I think I'm pretty happy to live with that. And again, this is not a good team, right? They're not going to be a play-in team. I think you and I have been in agreement about that even back into the offseason. This is still a building type of year, a development year for these young guys. So I'm pretty comfortable with riding that roller coaster, so to speak, with Cade and Ivy this year, mostly because through these, how many have they played? 6 games. Through these 6 games, outside of this next game, Jaden Ivey has been fantastic.
Yeah.
He's looked up to the task, even if he's making decision-making mistakes, which he had been. He was having a little bit of turnover issues here and there, and a few questionable passes that probably should have been turnovers, especially in that 76ers game that just weren't, but otherwise could have been. But no, I think it's a little too early to pull the plug on this staggering experiment. That's been one of the things that's actually has worked rather well, when other things have not.
No, I think you've outlined that beautifully. I think those two have definitely been the Pistons' best players, and it hasn't been close, which is a bit of a not necessarily a good thing, but it is encouraging. And I like finishing like that, Wes. I think
And on the positive, yeah.
yeah, I like that because I think they have been a positive, Cade and Ivy for sure. And that's something we can all, even with how bad tonight was, still get excited for the next game and every single game. So, Wes, I'm going to let you go, man. I appreciate you so much for joining. Can't wait to have you on for many more of these. But we introed you, but tell the people where they can find you, what you've got coming up, and all those things.
Yeah, thank you again. I love how this is a cool idea. So I love that you're doing this. I love that you keep asking me on. I'm anytime you want me on and I'm free, I'm in. This is a lot of fun. You guys can find me on Twitter at the Real West D3. As you mentioned in the intro, I, along with Blake Silverman, am the host of the Pin Down, which we host through Detroit Bad Boys. You can find that on YouTube and anywhere else that you get podcasts. We do have a phone call-in line. You can find that number online, but leave us a voicemail. That's one of like my favorite parts of the show where we actually get to hear your guys' voice, and it's a lot of fun. And then also produce the Pistons Pulse through the Detroit Free Press. That one's hosted by Bryce Simon and Omari Sanko for the second. If you guys aren't reading Omari, you should. He's now the senior beat writer. He's the vet out there on the Pistons
Crazy.
beat. But we have a lot of fun over there too. It's a great podcast, a great time. It's yeah, a lot of fun. So just I don't know. If you guys are listening to this, you clearly love Piston content. So there's plenty of Pistons content, plenty of Pistons podcasts to go around. Let's help each all out. Help all of each other out here. Help everyone
Absolutely.
grow. And make sure you're like and subscribe for this stream for our guy Jack.
You're a legend, Wes. And I was going to bring up, if you forgot it, the voicemail phone call. That's a really cool feature. And I think for
It's so fun.
everyone because I think sometimes people might not want to come up on stage here, but I think just hearing your voice on a podcast is such a cool thing. So I highly implore everyone to leave a voicemail, get your questions into Wes and Blake over at Detroit Bad Boys. And yeah, Wes, you are welcome anytime, my friend. I'm going to be in your DMs a whole heap. So can't wait to have you back.
Please
Hopefully, we're
do.
talking about a
Please
win
do.
because the two shows you've been on have been the two
I
worst
can't be
games
bad
by a
luck.
mile.
You'll never invite me on again. I'm bad luck.
No, you're welcome anytime. All right, man. You have a good night. Don't watch that game back, and we'll
You
chat
too.
soon.
Same to
All right,
you. Thanks,
all
Jack.
right. Catch you, man. All right, guys. I am still waiting to hear back from Downtown Juice, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through some comments here because I can see a whole heap of questions. But I'm just going to chuck an invite link to the next guest. Oh, Deuce has replied to me. All right. Sorry, we're a bit all over the place, but I'm going to go through a whole heap of comments here. Thank you for leaving all of these. Um, this team will forever be in the gutter as long as Tom Gores owns the team. Hey, that's fair. I don't believe in that, but I can't push back on anyone who thinks that. What else have we got here? I like this one from Otis. Thank you for all the comments tonight. Even if they are all frustrating, my friend, I feel you. So look at the other rebuilding teams around 2021 and where they are now compared to Detroit. Cade will be gone in 3 years tops. Ah, man. Look, the one thing I will say about that 2021 range of teams is, and I promise you I'm not making excuses for tonight's performance in this rebuild, but Houston, Orlando, um, And I think Minnesota, they all had some extra draft picks. Maybe not the Timberwolves, but Orlando, Houston definitely were able to get a heap of draft capital to help kickstart their rebuild. Now there's no reason Detroit should be this far behind them, but look, it's a fair point. But I just wanted to add that on there. Theo 99. One thing to hope for is Bobby Clintman getting some minutes. I agree. I don't know what's going on with Bobby's calf. This must be some sort of calf contusion that's quite severe because he didn't play in any of the preseason, and we still have yet to see him even suit up in the warm-ups for Detroit. So, uh, look, I think tonight he obviously would have got minutes, and he probably would have got some minutes in the other games. And I think it'd be fun to see him at least knock down some threes, show some of that passing he showed at the Summer League. Another one here from Cartier. Tobias at the 5 worked. Interesting. Interesting. You know, tonight I would have been open to that for sure. Sorry if that actually was on the court tonight. I didn't. I missed some of tonight's game. Uh, Here we go from user. I'm late, but holy, you're never going to win games in this league when the two worst aspects of your game is turnovers and defense. Absolutely, absolutely. And uh, I think sometimes we can live with one of those to be expected from a team like the Pistons who are young and trying to figure things out. But yeah, feels like those two things have been their biggest issue, and those are big issues for sure. Um, Just Football Academy Australia. Would you swap Beasley and THJ in the starting lineup? Uh, I don't think so. I actually like Hardaway Jr. wasn't amazing tonight, but I think they're kind of very similar players. I think where the change needs to come is probably, well, I think it's at the center position. And if they're not changing putting Stu as the starter next game, I think the minutes need to be skewed towards Stu. And if Durant's struggling, give B-Ball Paul some minutes. But I look, Bees and THJ to me are very similar. Obviously, they have some differences, but they're both just gunslingers. They're guys that are just going to shoot the ball, and you hope they knock them down. THJ tonight just didn't hit the open ones, but I don't know. I think I like Beasley off the bench for now. And I just don't think it's changing a whole heap. But I get the suggestion. A lot of Pistons fans have suggested that. Uh, can we start heavily pushing the Stu over Duren narrative? I I think a lot of Pistons fans will push back on you for some reason. Like a lot of fans just don't like Stu and want him off the team, which I don't get. But you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think Stu should be playing more minutes than Duran. I'll put it like that. And I think I've been kind of vocal about that, at least over the past couple of games. And I put a video out specifically about the issue the Pistons have at the center position. So, look, I guess you're with me through on through report. So thank you for the comment. Um, Yep, agree with this for sure. They definitely play with more effort when Stu's on the floor. It and I think primarily that comes from Stu's energy motor, and just the plays he makes. So like he has his offensive struggles, which desperately need to be sorted. He took some threes tonight, which was interesting. Uh, I don't think either came close to going in, but they weren't horrific misses. So hopefully he can start shooting the three again. I think with a guy like Stu, when you've just gone from shooting 1 3 in 5 games, it's probably going to take him a minute to warm into it because I wouldn't say he's a natural shooter at game speed. So I think you just want to see him across the next 3 games, take a couple a game and start knocking them down across the next 10 games. But yeah, I agree with that for sure. Katie's not a PG. I think he is a point guard, but he's still got a lot of room to grow. I think tonight I was probably Cade was good, like not good. Sorry, he figured things out after the first quarter, but I just felt like in the first quarter when the Knicks were on a run, him or Ivy needed to spark the Pistons offense, and like I was saying to Wes, they just didn't really get into the paint and make Cat work. I felt like they were just settling for jumpers. And look, the Knicks have really good perimeter defenders. And as we were just discussing, you can get away with a center like Cat, particularly in the regular season, on defense when you have such good perimeter defenders like Josh Hart, like Mikal Bridges. But I mean, honestly, I even thought Jalen Brunson tonight was solid defensively. So, uh, yeah, look, not a great game from Cade, but I think what we've seen from him, I think he's a point guard. And yeah, I'm still willing to push that narrative for sure. Uh, Bro, I'd be cool with a basic center like Nick Richardson or Khalil Ware. Look, I think that's maybe that's the encouraging thing. If say the uh Jalen Duren doesn't work out for the Pistons as the starting center, which I think is fair to say right now is not looking very likely. The center position, whilst the Pistons have invested a lot in it financially and with draft capital in the past 3 or 4 drafts, uh, you can still go find a stopgap center, whether it's a veteran or, I mean, I guess Nick Richardson's like a vet now. You can find these guys. It's not like trying to find a two-way wing or, a shot creating guard like Kate or Ivy. But so I think that is one positive. If the Duran thing doesn't work, it's not the most difficult position to fill. Like I feel like you can find centers that can defend and rim run. Not easily, but it's not like there's not some of them around. Uh, Cade got doubled from the jump tonight. Yeah, teams just know to blitz him in the pick and roll, like especially when the Pistons don't have it going. Um, it feels like teams across the first 5 games have kind of not been as aggressive defending Cade until later in the game when things got tight. But yeah, I mean, I think he's got to be better at handling that though, and the coaching staff has to help him out more. 3-on-3 report kind of iterates that. Wow, we've got so many comments tonight. Thank you so much, guys. I know this game was horrible, but I do always appreciate your support, jumping on and yeah, keeping the comments flowing. And going to get to a couple more here, but I think I just want to, while I have a moment, just reiterate the point of this show. I think people are starting to understand the concept a little bit more now that we're 5 or 6 games in. But this show is specifically for any fan to join. Like it's for the fans. I know I open the show with some podcasters and that kind of thing, but that's just because I want to get people locked in to open the show. So we've got someone to talk to. But if you want to come up and you want to open the show, like message me now. If you don't have to come up now, if you have time after the Nets game or the Lakers game on Monday and you want to come up and talk about, if you want to talk about the Lakers, like I'll talk to you about anything to basketball or life. I don't care. We can talk about anything. I just want to get to know more Pistons fans. And I think I've explained it a few times now. So sorry for the returning viewers. But I think for me, when I was, before I started making content and having this platform, I guess, I wish I had, after a game like tonight, a place to go and talk about Pistons and just get it off me, get that bad vibes off me, or after a win like they had in Philly, like just to go celebrate a win. Like I wish I had fans to talk to, but you can't find them in Australia, and I know a lot of people around the world struggle with that. So if you want to come on and just talk to me about the game, anything, we can talk about anything. So just another call out to you for this show and future shows if you want to come on. Still waiting for my guy here. Apologies for this, but I like this from Pistons Tragic. People need to relax. It's early days. And I feel like people aren't going to relax and you can't blame them. But I like this positivity. I'm taking this as a positive because it is only game number 6. The Pistons are 1-5. Their schedule has been absolutely brutal, like brutal. Like they were lucky Embiid and PG wasn't playing, but when we zoom out, as long as they handle business in Brooklyn, which is a big ask, I feel, but I think it's one they need to be ready for. I think we will look back and not be too worried about this Knicks game. I think the Knicks are a really good team. And I think I was saying to Cody the other night on the stream that this Knicks game I could see the Pistons either taking it right to them, or I could see this being a game where the Knicks get right and they figure things out offensively and use the Pistons to really build some momentum into their season. Obviously, the Knicks got right tonight, but it is still early days. And whilst I understand if people don't want to watch for the next couple of games, that is completely fine. But uh, yeah, I think we are still very early in the season and a lot can change. Um, from Just Football Academy, kind of feel like you need at least 1 5 that is over 7 foot in today's game. It's definitely a great call. The Pistons are they are pretty small. Like at the guard position, they have some height with Cade, and even Ivy's relatively big. But yeah, they definitely need more size, and I think we're seeing that. Like because even with Stu, like as good as I think his defensive stuff is, you know, Andre Drummond still had a couple of easy finishes over Stu. Even quicker guards like can just get by Stu, even though I think he's elite as like a switchable big. He needs more. You know, the Pistons need more height and size, especially if Jalen Duren, who's I think Duren's like 6'10". He does have the size, but as we've discussed at length, just doesn't seem to have it kind of mentally right now to defend. He's got the physical tools, but we've spoken about that. Come on, Austin. The schedule doesn't really get any easier, though. December is awful. I think November they start to play more teams like the Hawks, the Raptors, the Hornets, who I'm not saying are easy beats, but especially on their home court, I think the Pistons will win some of those games. But yeah, I'm just going to send Deuce a message. Sorry about this, guys. You are watching me in real time. Try to figure this out. I appreciate this. What else have we got? This might be the most comments we've got in this stream, and it's after a loss, so shouldn't surprise me, but I appreciate you. Kate at shooting guard with a player like Lonzo or Suggs at PG would be better. That would be amazing. Yeah, I'm probably talking prime Lonzo. I'm a bit worried about Lonzo's health now, but I think Ivy. Like I think I get why you're saying Lonzo and Suggs because of the defensive stuff, but I still think what we've seen from Cade and Ivy so far this season's been pretty amazing. Like pretty exciting, I should say. Amazing's probably too far because they haven't won many games. But yeah, I can see why fans feel like that for sure. I hope so too. I hope so too. I think we've all had moments in this season so far where multiple moments throughout games where we've felt if only Asar was back to, imagine if you could have put him on Brunson tonight. Like Jalen Brunson got whatever he wanted. But imagine if you could just go, all right, Asar, just take Brunson for the rest of this quarter. Brunson's a good enough player that he's still going to score, but you make him earn it. It just felt like the Knicks got everything too easy tonight. And that was, that's an effort thing, but yeah, they just carved up the Pistons. Oh, yeah. Just replying to Juice. I think he's coming on now. All right, he should be here in a moment. Any other questions, guys? I feel like I've gone through a heap of comments here, and like I said, I appreciate you all jumping on. I'm just reading some now. The Warriors won 3 trips with Draymond as their center. Can I ask you guys in the chat? Because I feel like this is always a controversial thing. Who here in the chat would like Draymond to put on a Pistons uniform before he retires? I would personally, I would like to see it. Obviously the contract would have to make sense, and if you're doing a trade, you're not trading Jaden Ivey or a future first for him. But I don't know. I think there's something cool, and I think I think a player like that, even at their older age, would really help this team. Here we go. 3-on-3 reports got my back. There's a lot of topics that get Pistons fans fired up, but whenever I've posted this one or see other people post it, it's a lot of people are very strongly with it or against it. Cody, what's going on, my man? Draymond on this team right now would make them miles better. I agree. Yeah, this is for me. Oh, the mentality For sure. I think Draymond's mentality would help this team. I feel like he'd have a lot of frustrating texts with this team where his frustration would boil over. But yeah, I think it would help. Pistons tragic. Kaminga, if he was part of the package. I wonder, I think Kaminga, it's an interesting one. I feel like after a quiet couple of games, he's turned it around a little bit, but he's obviously not starting, I don't believe. So I know a lot of Pistons fans are always interested in Kaminga. All right, Deuce should be here any moment. Sorry about this, guys. This is a bit of my fault with the scheduling. Oh, we've got some Trajan talk here. Trajan will not make the same mistakes as Troy Weaver. Give him his time and he will cook to make this right. I'm guessing he sees the same things we do. Wow. So I hope you're right. I got faith in Trajan, but after what we've experienced recently, I just need to see the results before I get excited about coaches or front office moves. But my guy Deuce is here. I'm bringing him up on the stage now. What's going on, my man?
What's up, bro?
Ah, man. Look, spirits are down a little bit, man, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. We've been chatting for a minute now, so I'm really excited to have you on, man. And
Oh yeah.
talk Pistons.
First of all, thanks for having me on, bro. I've been a fan of you for a minute, man. Been watching your work, great stuff, man. So just wanted to say that. And thanks to everybody who welcomed me here. But yeah, man, it's a tough game. I'm not sure where you guys left off at, but I mean, it's not a lot of good things to talk about here tonight. This was tough to watch out the gate, man. And one thing I talk about a lot is just the Pistons' inability to put together four quarters. It's either they start off slow and they finish strong, or they start off great and they fade late. So tonight they got punched in the mouth in that first quarter, and now it's a game.
Yeah, it was like we were talking earlier. Like it felt like it was over in the first 6 minutes. And
Yeah.
like sometimes teams can have slow starts, but they had a couple of runs towards the end of the second and maybe a bit of the end of the third, but it just was the Knicks were way too good. And I think a lot of fans were expecting maybe a loss tonight because of the Knicks, but not like that.
Yeah. Not like that, man. The Knicks are a good team, though. Like you said, they are. It's crazy. They were ranked 29th, I think, in defense coming into this game, but they didn't look like that tonight, man. They were locked in. They looked like a Tom Thibodeau coached defense, coached team.
No, exactly. And like we were saying, kind of, I was hoping that they would attack Cat a little bit more, but when you surround Cat with guys like Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, I thought Brunson defended well tonight. Like it's, that's kind of what the Pistons are missing to help with Duran, who we've spoken about at length on here already. It's not all on JD, but yeah, I've kind of got mixed into two storylines there. But
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, man. Like watching JD, and let me know what you think too. But like watching JD and Stu tonight, it seems like because last game JD was really struggling with his timing on the pick and roll, right?
Yeah.
And tonight it just looked like he was afraid to set a screen because it doesn't seem like he's figured it out yet. It looks like his screens are still kind of soft, and he's just kind of like, you know what I mean? So it's just, but with Stu, he sets harder screens and he never gets called for the offensive foul, or rarely. So it just seems like he's kind of figured out that timing with the guards more so, and JD's still trying to figure that out. Like, what were you seeing there?
Like, I think on defense, I agree with you on the timing stuff. I was hopeful JD could take some steps and show some signs early this season after last year, and I think a lot of us have been disappointed. But yeah, I feel like these past two games, I know he had really bad foul trouble against Philly, and I don't know if going back home in Philly, like he was trying too hard, but he looks like he's lost his confidence a little bit, and I know fans are frustrated with him, and I'm frustrated as well because the potential is there, man. But like that's kind of why I think like him going to the bench, and you'd like to think that could light a bit of a fire in him and get some confidence back, because offensively, like the thing with Duran and Stu is like Stu can play really good defense. Offense this season's been horrible. And then Duran, you would like to think at least if he's struggling defensively, he's going to be giving you more offensively. But the past two games, like I just haven't. Yeah, he looks like a bit lost on confidence and just looks lost.
Yeah.
Like both ends a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. He doesn't seem like he's playing with any intention. He's just
Yeah.
kind of just like out there trying not. It looks like he's trying not to make mistakes
Yeah.
as opposed to just playing his game. So, like you said, I think it's just a confidence thing with him, and hopefully he can turn it around. But he's struggling right now for sure.
And the other thing is, like, he plays with a lot of emotion. Like, he's a guy that if he dunks, like, he's yelling, he's screaming, and I just, he hasn't made many plays to start with, but
Yeah.
like he just looks a bit like, I don't know what the word is, just not locked in, and like that's on him. But
Hmm.
I'm just very interested to see what JB does next game, because I think the Nets at home is. I don't think any Pistons fan should think this is a locked win.
Yeah, it's definitely not a lot. I do think we are the better team, but it's not like it was. It's not going to be like you're playing the Sixers without Embiid and PG. It's going to be a little bit more of a tougher
Yeah.
battle than that. But I hope they just take some of that anger out on the Nets, man. I mean, show some pride after getting blown off your home court by 30, and just bounce back. I like these kind of things because you get to learn about your team in situations like this, especially young teams. When a little bit of adversity hits, what are you going to do? They showed a little bit, of resilience against the Sixers. So now I want to see how they bounce, because this is the first game where they just got blew out, like just from start to finish. There was no second half comeback. There was no, they just got beat. So I want to see how they respond to this.
No, it's an awesome point, and I think after what we've experienced the past 2 years, I'm nervous for the Nets game. But I think, like you said, this is the first game they've been blown out. They weren't expected to win any of those first 4, even if they were in the games. They handled business against Philly. Like, yes, Philly were missing those players, but they won that game and they were the better team for pretty much the last 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So now it's like you just got absolutely smacked on your home floor and embarrassed. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even being over the top.
Yep.
How do you respond against a team you should beat?
Yeah.
Because I agree, the talent-wise, they are better.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. These are the moments where we learn about our young guys. This is the growing pains process that we all go through with young teams. So I don't know, man. We'll see.
100%. And I know you've just done your game recap, so you've probably gone through all of the negative stuff, the concerns. So I just want to, this is the first time having you on the show, my man.
Yeah.
So I should have asked you this off the top, but how did you become a Pistons fan? Why you're a Pistons fan? And then I just want to get to your overall thoughts on the season so far and some of the players.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'm a little bit of an old head. I know I look a little bit younger, but I was around for the first Bad Boys repeat. Vaguely, I was about 3-4, just to kind of show my age. But I was around for that. So I've been a fan ever since Isaiah, Joe D, Bill Embiid, Mark McGuire, James Edwards, the original James Edwards. All those guys. Shout out to James Edwards III. But I've been around since that time. And so it kind of just evolved from there through the teal years when we weren't good with Grant Hill and it was just him and Joe D, all that. And then all the way through when they came back into form, back with the going to work team and all that. So I just they've always been a part of my life, ever since I was a kid. So I can kind of tell when things are it's cyclical. I can kind of tell when they're going the wrong direction and then we're kind of heading in the right direction. So I feel like we're kind of getting back to that, uptick as far as like the 2002-ish, 3-ish Pistons before we got there. It doesn't feel like that yet, but I feel a shift from last year. As far as the season, I don't have very high expectations as far as a win count, but I do expect vast improvement. I know we only won 14 games last year, and normally, a 14, 15 win jump season over season normally is a lot to ask. But when you win 14, it's not, It's not that much. I think the Pistons could win the award for most improved team. It doesn't exist, but I think they could win that because of how bad we were last year. So my expectations for them are tempered. I'm expecting heartache games where we're supposed to win and we lose. And I'm also expecting surprising wins where we're supposed to lose and we win. That's kind of what young teams do. They play up and down of the competition, But overall, I just want to see steady month to month, week to week improvement, right? By the All-Star break, I want to see a vastly different team than what we see right now. Maybe not wins, losses, but just as far as the approach to the game, right? Not coming out like we did tonight from the start of the game, just consistency. If I get that by the end of the season, whether we're a play-in team, whether we don't make the play-in, whatever, I just want to see. I want to see a team that makes me excited for next year.
Yeah, No, I feel you. And like I think I'm the same with you. And like wins and losses this season, I think I've constantly just been around 28 to 30, which is still that huge jump you were talking about. But I think it's very doable. And I think they've shown us stuff in those first 4 or 5 games that they can do it. I think it's just tonight. Yeah. We were talking about it earlier with when I had Wes on. Like, it's probably a game you just burn and throw away for the coaching staff, but us as fans, what we've been through, we kind of can't. So you just have to hope they come to Brooklyn, like you said, with like renewed energy and just prove that we are not the 23-24 Pistons,
Right.
which I don't think they are, but I know I get why fans still need that to feel that for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about a couple of the Pistons players. Jaden Ivey. I get the sense you're a big Jaden Ivey fan. I'm a big Jaden Ivey fan.
Yeah.
I think for me, he's been the biggest bright spot this season in terms of just the jump he's made. Tell me your thoughts on him. I know you've had his dad on your podcast, which is
Yeah.
really, really cool. I think you've had his brother as well. I think I remember watching.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me your thoughts on Jaden Ivey this season and just overall.
Yeah, man. I've gotten a chance to know him a little bit. We've had conversations, things like that. Really, really good kid, man. Really good guy. Got his head on straight for sure. Who he is on the court is who he's off the court. But aside from that, I think he's really gotten a bad rap the last couple of seasons. If you go back into his rookie season, nearly that entire season was without Cade. Because Cade had the shin injury and he was out for the season. So he didn't have him his rookie year. And, that's a lot to ask of a rookie point guard, just putting the ball in his hands and your backcourt mate as Corey Joseph or Killian Hayes and saying, hey, go make something happen. That's a lot to ask. And I think his 3-point shooting has been maligned these last couple years because the quality of his 3-point shots has just not been there. He hasn't had another off guard or another guard to set him up. And he also hasn't had spacing to make other defenders respect who they're defending. So this season, you're not seeing him trying to, off the dribble, step back threes. Those are low quality 3-pointers for anybody. Even if you're Steph Curry, he's going to make more than most, but he's Steph Curry, right? But even for him, it's not a good quality shot. And I think for the first time, Jaden Ivey, it looks like his shot has improved vastly, which it has improved, but a lot of it is just the quality of the shots that he's taking now. It's a lot easier to hit a set shot than it is a step back three, I know you hoop, so And then two, I think the other thing for him is just that he works his tail off, man. He's had 3 coaches in 3 years, right? Dwayne Casey, Monty Williams, and now JB. And all 3 of them have said, this dude is a gym rat. I think Monty Williams even last year said that they should change his mailing address to the facility because he's always there. So yeah, man, I think the sky's the limit for him. I really think he can become a really good 2-way player. Even defensively, he has to work on his defensive IQ, but the tools, I think, are there for him to be a very, very good defensive player. He's long, he's rangy, he's strong. He's one of the fastest players from end to end. So I think the ceiling is really high for him, man. And I'm really looking forward to seeing his growth. Even tonight, he was knocking down threes again. So he's proving game over game that, hey, you better respect my three ball because I have it. It's in my repertoire. So I'm looking forward to seeing his growth throughout the season. What about you? What do you see?
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing from Jaden. Like tonight's game aside, like I'm throwing that out, but I think he still hit a couple of threes. Like, look, it was a down game for him,
Right?
And a lot of players, but I love Jaden. Jaden's like one of my favorite players. Like I just and that stuff about working hard, like I know that gets used a lot by coaches and at like media day, but yeah, I've heard and spoken to some people as well, and that is not a joke. It's not just like putting mayo on it or like he is a crazy worker. Like it's scary. So that's why I've always, I'm a bit disappointed in myself towards the end of last season, just the way he closed his season as a in year 2. I was a bit concerned about him and Cade, but like overall, I love Jaden. And like this season, like I said, he's been the biggest bright spot for me.
Yeah, bro.
No matter what.
And I just like how. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. Man.
I was just saying, I like how JB is utilizing them. At least one of them was always on the court, right? If they're not both on the court, just the way he's staggering them. I know that was a big point, in this offseason. Like, Beasley's better with Cade and this and that, which I understand. But I just think when they're staggered, they can both be at their best. And then in the process of starting, they're still learning how that works too. Just a lot like how it was for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland in the beginning. They struggled a little bit early, and then later on, they were staggered the same way. And then when they were as time continued to pass, they got better and better and better playing off together. So it's the same thing. We got the right guy for right coach for this backcourt for sure.
Absolutely, man. And I think like Jaden knocking down those threes now, like I can recall like plenty of times this season where Cade's kicked it to wide open Jaden and he's knocking them down, and that's just like so crucial. So
Yeah.
I think I'm liking them staggered, but also liking what we're seeing when they're on the floor together, which is just as important.
Right.
I wanted to go to Cade now. I think Cade, like the reason I don't have him as my number one bright spot is because I kind of think he proved last year like that he's a guy that can give you 25. The shots coming around. Just overall thoughts on him so far this year.
Yeah, man. I think he's probably the happiest. Well, other than the wins and losses, I think he's probably the happiest player right now, just because he finally has a team around him that makes sense. This is year 4 for him, and the team makes more sense now than it ever has. And it's not even that hard to figure out, to be honest. Just give him spacers. Just give him guys that can give him room, and then give him a lob threat. Right. I mean, we saw early the potential that him and JD can have together. JD's having some struggles now, but he has the lob threat and he has spacers everywhere else. So I think, and that allows him, if the defense does stay home, because we have shooters now, he can go to work. You know what I mean? So he's learning how to pick his spots now, and you can just see that he's a much more efficient player now. He's still got to work on the turnovers, and he's still turning the ball over and things like that. But in the half-court offense, he just looks so much more comfortable because there are not 8 to 10 eyes on him every time down the court. You know what I mean? They're defending their own man, and now he's just got one-on-one matchup, and he's taking advantage of it most nights, right? So he's doing what I thought he would do. I think his decision-making still needs to improve a little bit. Sometimes he forces the issue a little bit too much instead of letting the game come to him. But I think part of it, too, is the fact that all these guys are being demanded to defend at a high level, right? Before the season even started, JB Bickerstaff said that he wants to turn Cade into a two-way player, right? So we're starting to see that. You're seeing Cade and all these guys move their feet more on defense. They're not playing defense with their hands as much. And that drains your energy on the offensive end. Your shot's going to come a little bit shorter when you're playing that much defense. So I think he's understanding now that he doesn't have to go get 28 to 30 a night, because defensively he's going to be exerting more effort, and it's going to be more of a group effort as far as a scoring load. So I'm hoping that continues, because I think that bodes well for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think the defensive stuff with Cade as well, like especially with Asar out, like Cade kind of has the tools to be their best defender. And like, that's what I really liked in that Boston game. Like, I think his final stat line, I think he only scored 22, but he had like 10 assists and 3 blocks. And it's not just about the block numbers, but I just thought in that Celtics game in the second half, he was huge. Like he took the role of like defensive quarterback in terms of just setting a tone. And like, I kind of was, I don't know where I said it, but I was just like, I think that's my favorite version of Cade, because right now, like Stu's their defensive anchor when he's on the court, but they're kind of just missing that, especially without a star. And I just, so I've liked some of the defensive stuff we've seen from him for sure.
Yeah. Me too.
Was there any other play? Like I could go through, I want to hear your thoughts actually. So you've been around, you were saying like you watched some of the Isaiah Thomas stuff, the Going to Work crew.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jalen Duran and what we're seeing? Like, not even so much like X's and O's maybe, but just like your overall vibe on him and where he's at as a 20-year-old center with the Pistons.
I think that last part of what you said nails it for me. And this is not to make an excuse for him, but he's still maturing. He's 20 years old. He can't even drink yet, right? And I know there are a lot of guys out there that are as young as him or close to his age that are doing whatever. But these things, it takes time, man. It really takes time for certain players. I wish he had the motor of an Isaiah Stewart. I think you mentioned that earlier. If he had the motor of an Isaiah Stewart, he'd be an all-star center. It just seems at times he doesn't give max effort. And that is concerning for me at times, because he has all the ability in the world. You can see it. He's talented, man. But it's just not always there. And for him, I feel like some guys, their defense will determine the defense is predicated on their offense. So if they're not getting touches offensively, they just don't give that same effort defensively. They kind of just check out sometimes. I'm not saying he always does that, but I noticed when he is getting touches and he's eating at the rim, on the other end, he's strapping up. So I just need him to have that same mentality of, regardless of what's going on the offensive end, I'm going to make sure my guy doesn't score. And I think that just comes with time and maturity. It's not too concerning yet because he's so young, but sometimes it's hard to learn those things. If it doesn't come naturally for some guys, it's never going to come. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about his mental. That's pretty much it for me with him. What about you?
No, I think it's a great point. I think my guy Cody, he's come on a few of the streams now. He said if you could combine Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Durant, you would have one hell of a player. But
Yeah.
I think, I keep bringing up this comparison way too much, but this is where Durant and Drummond are so similar to me. Dre used to, when he was not getting touches offensively or he was missing his post hook, his defense dropped off.
You're right.
That was the thing for me with Durant last season, was not so much the touches, but the effort on defense. That was just for me, that's just heartbreaking is a bit extreme, but I'm like, man, just give effort. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
What are you doing? That's the thing for me. I'm just I genuinely can live with, if you want to talk about him struggling to pick and roll and missing some rotation, I can live with that, but I can't live with him just the effort. It hurts to watch.
Yeah.
It's man, you got all the potential. You've got
Right.
the tools. You're crazy, athletic.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that just hurts. And that's why I think I'm not saying trade him tomorrow, but that's why my hope for him isn't where it was at the start of last season.
Got you.
Part of me, I like to be optimistic. I think he can turn it around. I think the coaching staff can help him out. But yeah, it's been a tough.
I'm with you though. Yeah. Hey, what are your thoughts on Tobias so far, bro? What do you? I know he hasn't really given us a scoring, but what do you think overall of Tobias?
I really like the signing. I liked it. I defended it, and I will continue to defend it for the next 6 games. But for those that are saying "I told you so," I can't push back right now. I thought he started tonight's game well. He finished the Philly game well. I think he's, I said this a couple of times, I think he's struggling to find his role chemistry-wise, because I think when he signed, he probably thought he was the second option, and with that comes more touches. But this is a good thing for Pistons fans. Ivy's clearly grabbed that second scoring role. It's not close, and that's great. But I think he might be struggling to find, his touches on a consistent basis. Sometimes I feel like they're just forcing it to him in the post, but I think he'll figure it out. The 3-point shooting's been really disappointing. There's been a lot of key threes in the corner he's missed, which I think could have helped. But I think I'm not going to say it's a bad signing. I believe in him. I think when you think of Tobias Harris, you just think of a consistent 17 to 20 points. So I think he will get there. But yeah, I think this is a good point here. I think his rebounding's actually been. Oh wait, this might be about someone else.
You know what? I think you might be right. No, I think you might be. I think that is because I was looking at a stat because I'm trying to figure out where's the disconnect? What's going on here? And I looked up some numbers from the last few games, bro. He had 14 rebounds last game. That led the team. So far this season, he's nearly averaging double-digit rebounds a game. So this is just my take on Tobias, right? I think he's being asked, like you said, the role thing. I think he's being asked to play a different role than what he thought he was going to be playing. Because the first go, at least with Detroit, the first go around when he was here, he wasn't asked to crash the glass nearly like how he is now. But we had Andre Drummond, who was the best rebounder in the world. You know what I mean? So I think his role is changing. And once again, when your role shifts like that, you have to adjust, but you also have to make sure that you're conserving enough energy for the offensive end. Yep. And he's primarily an offensive guy, but he's giving effort on defense. He had a couple of strips in a row tonight where he knocked the ball, and he's been doing that all season and getting on the glass. So I think that's kind of affecting his offense a little bit. And I think that's what's going to take him time to adjust to. Okay, I'm not going to, maybe I got to get my buckets early in the game. You know what I mean? Before I get gassed. Or something like that. But I think that's kind of been the difference as far as with him so far.
Yeah, no, I think those are all great points. I think he's going to figure it out. I just refuse to believe, I know Philly fans will be like, oh, he scored 0 points in the elimination game. He's whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's like, even with his poor play, like I've just liked what I've seen from him just around the younger guys, just in some of the behind the scenes stuff you see. I know fans don't want to hear this right now, but
Yeah.
I think like his leadership and just the maturity he has. And like the thing with Tobias, if you like look into some things about him, like his professionalism, the way he looks after himself and carries himself off the court,
Yeah.
like that is someone you want your younger players to like look up to in that professional sense. So like,
Yeah.
you know, we're 6 or 7 games in, whatever. Like, I think he'll figure it out. He needs to be much better. Like, he's been disappointing on the court,
Yep.
like his play. Like, you can't deny it. But
Yep.
yeah, I think he'll figure it out.
I do
Like,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I've got Austin coming up next. But is there any other final thoughts? Upcoming games? How are we feeling? They got the Nets Sunday and then the Lakers Monday.
Yeah, La Lakers game. I don't know. We never seem to beat them whenever they come here. I don't know why. But yeah, I think the Nets game will definitely win.
Love it.
And I once again, I think this is going to be the worst part of the season for us. Is this part right here? You know, when you got a bunch of new faces coming together, you know, guys getting used to playing with one another, the coach getting used to players, all these different things. Chemistry is not going to come in game 5 or 6 of the season. It's just not going to happen. So I think, you know, as the season continues to progress, we'll see, you know, growth here and there, and we'll see, you know, a fun team by the end of the season. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I love it, and I agree with you. I think, are you going to be in the building for any games soon? I know you get to LCA sometimes.
Yeah, bro. I'm trying to get to that Lakers game. So we'll see.
How much are tickets for that? I know it varies.
Yeah, I guess I'll say average seats for a Lakers game, probably about 200.
Far out.
Yeah. If you're trying to,
USD, man, that's like double for me in Australia, bro. That dollar's so
bro,
bad.
I keep forgetting, bro. I keep thinking you're like down the street somewhere, man. I'm not used to that.
Bro, I could not be further away. Like, where I live is so far from the East Coast. Like,
bro, where are you?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia, which is like the second biggest city here. It's kind of Melbourne and Sydney.
Okay.
So I would say Melbourne reminds me a lot of Boston. I don't know if that's just the way the cities. No, and some of the people, but the way the city looks.
Yeah,
there's probably more like taller buildings and stuff, but it's very Boston-y. I've only been to
I got you.
But
I got you.
And then Sydney is probably a bit more like LA vibes. But
yeah,
I'm like down the bottom of Australia. So to get to where you're at,
yeah,
to get to New York for me, it's 14-hour flight to LA, and then you go. I think it's about 4.5 across to New York.
Oh man. So the question is, when are you coming to LCA?
Hey, so I'm hoping this season. I think I've been manifesting it. I am getting it this season. I'll be there. First time in Detroit, man. I can't wait. Like, hey,
man, let us know. We'll take you out. We'll take you downtown, man. We'll show you a good time for sure.
I know you guys will look after me. Yeah. I love it. So thank you so much for joining me, man. I'm going to have you on here a heap of times. Like, tell the people they can find you. I'm sure they all know on YouTube and everything, but just, let the people know where you're at and what you got.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate you, man. You're doing your thing. You can find me on all platforms, Downtown Deuce, DEUCE. You can find me collaborating with my man Pistons Jack Kelly on some Instagram posts. On Instagram. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, bro. This is I want to have you on my pod too. I want to have you on our side of the fence. Yeah, because King was asking too, like, hey, we should have Piston Jack on. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna make it happen.
King on here as well. Maybe I'll get both of you on here.
Yeah, do that, man. He'd love to come on here for sure. Yeah,
I would love to, man. Keep doing your thing. You're killing it. I love that we're chatting hoops and the collabs, all that. Let's go,
sir.
Man. Hopefully some more wins.
Oh yeah, right. You already know, bro. Appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, bro. Have a good
one.
All right,
peace. You too.
All right, we got my man Austin. I sent him the link, so he should be coming up in a minute. He said he's got 10 to 15 minutes for me. Here he comes. Austin.
What up?
Pleasure to meet you, my bro.
Oh, man. Ooh, that's a rough one. But
it was. But before, I know you've only got a short time, but I ask everyone their first time on the show, Why are you, or how did you become a Pistons fan?
So it's actually kind of crazy. I was kind of a basketball fan during the going to work era, not like super or anything, but followed it. And then I'd say around 2016, kind of when basketball was really at its peak. I'd say it's probably when I really got into basketball. Not really a Pistons fan because at that time, I mean, they were making the playoffs, but again, getting swept out. So it was kind of tough. But I'd say the year they drafted Cade was when I really was like, okay, I'm back. Like this is my team now. You know, the Lions weren't very good. Tigers weren't very good. So I was like, okay, I'm all in. You know, Cade's gonna come here, be the savior. And oh man, it's been a rough couple of years. But honestly, like I love it. Like my friends always telling me, like, hey man, just stop watching them. It's like I can't. Like I love this team. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So
I
I'm
feel
actually
you,
gonna
man.
ask you the same thing. Like
Go for
how'd
it.
you become a Pistons fan?
So I love the story. I love your commitment because I'm the same. People ask me, especially in Australia. Because sorry, did you say you in Michigan or Detroit?
I'm from Michigan. I actually live in Phoenix, Arizona
Got
now.
you.
So
So yeah, so for me, like I'm in Australia, so many people are like, why the Pistons? So it's a really simple story. I've been following the NBA. I remember watching games in like 2005, 2006, like down here just on cable, and then I remember I like LeBron, Kobe, all those guys, and then I just remember seeing a mock draft that had Andre Drummond at the top of it. So, and I used to like Dwight Howard with those Magic teams. And then so I was just like, you know what? Whoever drafts him, I'm going to go for that team. So I watched him as much as I could at UConn for that season, and then he got drafted to the Pistons, and man, that's literally it.
hey, whatever it takes, you know.
Exactly. So I haven't seen a playoff win. I haven't got to experience
Hey,
many of the highs, but I'm this far in now that I'm like you. I absolutely love this team. I like.
yeah.
I think there is some reasons which I won't go into like why I like it so much, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's mainly to do with Andre Drummond's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, to kind of bring it back to the Pistons a little bit, well, obviously
Yeah,
Drummond, you mentioned Dwight Howard, and as we're the huge topic of the night is Jalen Duran.
yeah,
Uh, his rookie year, I don't know, maybe it's just me that remembers it. There were a lot of comps. I mean, he was breaking a lot of records that Dwight Howard was doing, whether it was rebounds or blocks or anything. So I think after that first year, it was like, okay, yeah, this guy's going to be. I think maybe the expectations were with him got a little bit too high. Starting a 19-year-old center in the NBA is hard, and I mean he's 20. You guys just talked about it. He can't even drink a beer yet. Like that's crazy, and it's like I think right now the best chance to just put him back on the bench. I was actually looking up some of his stats from that rookie year. Let me see if I can find him again.
yeah. I think
Uh,
it was like as a rookie, it was close to a double double.
so
Might have
yeah,
been like
yeah. He started 31 games. He played in 67 of them, but I mean, he was averaging zero point 0.7, so like a steal and a block a game. Um, pretty good efficiency and everything. Like maybe he just does slide back into that bench role for a little bit. I don't. You can't not play him. I think the upside is there. Even if you go back to like the summer league a couple years ago, he was like it looked like he was trying to add stuff to his bag,
yeah,
but no, you don't see any of that now. He just kind of
yeah,
it's not there. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting situation, but I'll kind of go away from that because I think that's probably the worst situation to talk about right now. I will hit
Hey,
you with another bad stat because while
go
I was
for it,
watching
man.
the game today, I switched over to the Knicks broadcast. The Pistons have now lost 16 straight games to the Knicks.
Oh
So
wow, that is a stat.
yeah, the last time they won was in 2019. So maybe that's just something about playing the Knicks that they just can't get over. Like, but
I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that long of a
yeah,
stretch, but and it feels like they get blown out in all of them. None of the games, they seem to be
yeah.
like
Well,
always tough games, but yeah,
that one last year, I mean,
the
came
ref.
down to Azar getting tackled.
True.
That one kind of hurt, but no,
Well,
I mean,
can I ask you, because that's what we've been talking about on here, like maybe like you raise a really good point. They haven't won a game against them in like 4 years. or 5 years nearly. Like maybe this is just their bogey team. The Knicks are extremely talented. They're going to be a good team. Like, can't forget that. So I think lots of people would just like to throw this one out and be like, just a bad night. But where are you at on that? Like, do you think this isn't just a bad night? This is a sign of things to come?
I don't think it's a sign of things. I think that early on in this game, as you've mentioned a couple times already, just the energy was just not there at all. And I think maybe for a lot of the team that has been here for the last couple of years, it's kind of like, okay, we get down 10, then we get down 15, then we get down 20. It's like, okay, here we go again. Like, this is just, and that's just what they're used to. You see them try to go to Tobias, they try to go to Tim Hardaway Jr., and they're just not hitting shots. And I think that just kind of steamrolls it. And then, I mean, they play well. I mean, in the second half, what they outscored, it was 33 to 30, I think is what they outscored the Knicks. So like that first quarter, it just jumped on them early. And then after that, they just couldn't overcome it. But I actually looked back last year. They got blown out by the Raptors by 29 points during their losing streak. And I mean, when you go back and look at just some of their games last year, like, again, I don't think this is last year. I think the team has a lot more confidence than it did last year. But like, you go and you look, and it's 4-point losses, 5-point losses that I think the veterans that they brought in will help flip those. But I think just them going back and being like, okay, this is exactly what we've known now for 2 or 3 years, and I think they just kind of fall into those patterns. So
they do
tonight. I don't know, but looking forward again, Brooklyn, they're tough. I mean, they beat the Bulls tonight. Not saying that the Bulls are
Did they
great or
really?
anything, but
No, the Bulls?
I mean, yeah,
Bulls have been looking frisky.
Cam Thomas, I mean, he's averaging 27 points a game. I think Dennis Schroeder's averaging like 24. Like they're pretty solid. I mean, as much as people talked about them being the worst team, like Cam Thomas, Dennis Schroeder, I mean, Ben Simmons isn't great, but he's a force out there at least if they're playing him, at the center. And Cam Thomas, who I wish last year the Pistons would have got involved in the Cam Thomas sweepstakes, but yeah, I don't know if I'm really looking forward to that one though. So
I'm nervous
having the Lions on, not paying attention.
Well, that's the thing. At least the Lions are playing. I think the Lions game starts halftime of the Pistons game or something like that. So you don't have to watch it. I'll be watching it, but I'm nervous for that game. Just from what I saw tonight, like I know you can just throw it out, but if the Nets get up by 10 points, I'll just be nervous at like that losing kind of mentality that they've kind of developed will creep in, and that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if you happen to see I can't remember exactly what account it was. They had talked to JB Bickerstaff after the game, and one of his comments was you kind of have to get your ass kicked to learn from it. And I think for that, like his philosophy maybe after losing is a lot different than what Monty's was. I think he came out and he said, teams are going to start respecting you more now because you're playing harder, so you have to play harder. So I think his way of being like different than Monty was. Maybe Monty wasn't so like, hey, you get respect now. Now, like they can kind of flip it around, but I don't know. I still think it sometimes, when they get down, like you said, you get that 10-point loss, it's like, all right, well, it's over. We're not going to be able to come back from this. So, and I am someone who I love Cade Cunningham. I love everything that he brings, but I think there are times where maybe his leadership lacks a little bit in that aspect of it. You see him trying, but like his body language a lot, I feel like as soon as it gets that, he's like, okay,
it's a bit active.
But yeah, but also to his credit, I mean, this is 3 years he's been dealing with this now. I mean, he played at Mount Verde, where I don't think he lost a game his entire time when he was in high school. Like, I mean, he went to Oklahoma, but that was a business decision. He went there because his brother worked there. Like, it was not. And so, you go from high school where you don't lose to the NBA where you win 15% of your games. Like, that's tough. So, I mean, I don't think it's all on Cade. Like, obviously, like, I think I thought personally last year he was going to make a Jason Tatum style leap, which I think is what we're seeing this year. But Yeah, I think that, the team needs to figure out how to play after they give up big runs. Like, I think what
Yeah.
they just have to remember is basketball is just a game of runs. Like,
Yeah.
that's what you say is a game of runs.
Yeah.
You go on 10, okay, let's go get 10.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think they showed some of that against Philly, but Philly were missing their two best players, or Maxi and PG are pretty similar in terms of talent level. I think they're missing two awesome players. So of course the Pistons going to be easy for them to get back into the game. And then tonight you don't get that opportunity against the Knicks.
Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
I think one thing, sorry, just to
no, you
add
go.
on to that, like, one thing that I can say that is a flip from last year is like, those games where they were playing teams without their best players. Like the one that comes to mind is I think it was against Memphis during their losing streak. Memphis didn't. I don't think they had Jaren Jackson. I don't think they had John Morant. And Desmond Bain went for 50, and they lost. And it's
Yeah.
like those were the games where it was like you need to win those games because they're not at full strength. And I
Yeah.
think right now that's what we're seeing is they'll win those games now, but they're still going to lose to top 3 team, the team that's looking to make the finals this year. Like,
Yeah.
they're like you guys have touched on, the schedule is just horrible to
Brutal.
start. They go through a couple good games here, but I commented earlier that the schedule in December.
Yeah. I know we might have lost Austin. I know what comment he's referring to though. The schedule's tough in December. Oh, I think we've lost my guy.
You go Milwaukee, Boston, like
Oh man, I think he's dropped out. Is Austin, anyone hear
it's.
Austin on the stream, or is it just me? Card, yeah, I know you're there in the comments. I see you.
Oh no, it's in and out.
Yeah, I got you. I think I've got you back now. Ah, he's gone. Hang on, I'm just going to quickly message him. Try again. Ah, he dropped. All right. I just want to give him the chance to come back on, because he was mid going through a good point. But hang on, just checking my DMs. All right, we may have lost Austin. I'm going to send a link now. Oh no, he's back. He's back. He's back. Good. We got him.
Okay.
So
Something happened with my laptop. I'm not really sure. It just kind
no,
of.
you're good. So you were
freaked out.
midway just talking about the comment you posted about the December schedule, and then
Yeah.
we lost you.
Yeah, the schedule is just crazy. The West Coast trip that they go on. You're playing Phoenix, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Nuggets. That's a tough 4-game schedule. Like that right there in itself. But I think coming into the season, I was expecting the team to get 30 wins. I was like, my expectations were too high, which they always are. But
Sorry to cut you off. You think 30 wins is too high?
I think now it is. Yes,
Okay.
I think I would love it if they could get there. I think it's just going to take the team a little bit longer to gel together than originally anticipated. Like you said, Tobias Harris trying to find his role within the team, I think it's been difficult. Jaden Ivey taking the leap is nice, but now they have to figure out their center situation. And I will be one of those people that goes to a trade scenario super early. Um, One for me right now, as I was watching the Jazz Spurs game last night. Patty Mills. I feel
Oh,
like
Paddy Mills,
I
Aussie.
mean, I feel like he could be pretty easy to get.
Yep.
A Utah team that maybe not is not expected to do very much. Um, you give up. I don't know what you can give up. But
Yeah.
that's a veteran point guard who's been in the playoffs. He has experience. One of those Coach Popovich guys who loves him. So, um, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But
I actually like that call. Like Paddy struggles defensively, especially at this age, but He's a knockdown shooter. Can do some stuff off the bounce. It's just he was a free agent for ages, and no one wanted him. And then the
Yeah.
Pistons had this roster spot the whole time, and he's a guy they could have gotten.
Yeah,
But
the other, I mean, obviously the other one I think I see brought up a lot is Markel Fultz as just kind of like a point guard position, and I honestly haven't watched a lot of Markel Fultz play. I went and looked at his stats from last year, and they weren't, they weren't jumping off the page at me. But even if it is just somebody like you guys talked about earlier, just to kind of settle everybody down, because I
yeah,
think it gets to that point where it's just like, oh crap, we're winning, let's get a rebound and we're just going to run. We're just going to go, and then they turn it over. I mean, it happened against the Celtics. It even happened against the Sixers, and they kind of figured it out, obviously. But yeah, they get a little bit too high, and then they just kind of lose themselves a little bit. So
yeah. No, for sure. Like Markel, I think isn't the perfect backup point guard. Like the shooting's not really there, but I just think, he did some good stuff with the Magic. He can get into the paint and just get to the rim a little bit, which I think would help this team, because sometimes I feel like they struggle to get to the rim unless it's
Yeah.
Ivy. So it's just can be a bit jump shot heavy, but I think the center positions become the bigger
oh,
concern.
absolutely.
But I think coming into the season, like you were saying, like the backup point guard position was a huge thing that a lot of fans noticed was lacking. So
Yeah.
those two spots for sure. It feels like one of them needs to be sorted.
Yeah.
Even
And
if they aren't trying to win games.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's not exactly what they're trying to do. I mean, coming into the season, Trajan's message was like, "This is a building season. Like we're trying to see what we have." And I mean, I've seen a lot of the comments on here. A lot of people wanted Donovan Clingan, with that 5th pick. I'm not by any means saying like Ron Holland is not it, because I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think that the Clingan pick would have been more drafting for what you need instead of drafting for the future. So I think it was the right pick, especially if Azar can come back and they can play together and they can be, exactly what we think they can be, especially playing alongside Cade. And because personally, I think the defense obviously and the rebounding would be a lot better if Azar was on the team. Playing, like his rebounding is insane for a guard. Like the way that he can just get up and rebound, and it's nuts. So he helps the team a lot, and hopefully we get something on him soon, because
I hope so too. Yeah, I'm with you for sure. I agree. Like the defense gets talked about a lot, but like you brought it up, the rebounding he provides from the wing position is huge. Like I think he was having games started last year, he's getting like 15 rebounds. Like
yeah,
it's all from just athleticism, but it's so helpful.
and you guys may have talked about it one of the last games, but I think he can also help in the ball handling department as well. Like he's not the greatest, but I think last year he showed that he can handle the ball. He can be one of those people that kind of has that role. So
yeah, man. For sure. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I actually got to go. So I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
I don't have anything to promote except for you. So keep doing what you're doing, man. It's been awesome to kind of see where you've come and where you're at now. So love to join you in the future. But yeah, it's been awesome.
Well, you are welcome anytime, my friend. I'll be hitting you up in DMs if I don't hear from you every few games. So please come up if you have the time. I've enjoyed having you on. I appreciate all the comments, all the support, man. And it means a lot to me. And this is why I'm doing it, because I don't get to meet you if I'm not doing this. So it's awesome to connect with Pistons fans. So I really appreciate you coming up, sharing your thoughts. And I really enjoyed it, bro.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, my man. You have a good night.
You too.
All right. Catch ya. Bye. All right. I've sent a DM to Cody, our resident visitor, to close out the show, but he's not replying to me. He might be asleep. He said he's playing COD. Has anyone got the new Black Ops? I don't really play COD anymore, but I've seen people talking about it. So I'm guessing it's just the same thing on repeat. But maybe I just haven't played COD in enough time. I saw a funny comment here. So was this about me comparing Sydney to LA? That was a pretty rogue suggestion for me. I've only been to Sydney a couple of times, but I don't know. It's just got nice beaches and it's like a city. So I thought maybe LA would be a good comp, but that made me laugh. All right, I'm just gonna message Cody. Wow, we've nearly been going for 2 hours. Oh, World Cup fan. This is my first time watching a season. It seems that the team that stuck out to me and the one I decided to follow is the one most similar to my footy team. Perhaps fate doesn't like me winning. Who's your team? Are you talking AFL, Australian Rules Football, or what? Because the Australian Rules Football team I decided to follow is the worst in the league history. So maybe that's why I've ended up a Pistons fan. Holland makes things worse for us all around as he's a project, even though he is a decent player. Yeah, he definitely, the lack of shooting, you can see teams just aren't defending him at all, which is making it tough. Like teams are just even the Pacers game, teams weren't defending him. Like they were just leaving him wide open, which I don't think we saw that with Asar early on, but there's clearly a scout on him to just leave him open, which makes sense. But I still like that pick. I think like he showed some good things tonight, but he is a guy that's going to be subject to some frustrating plays just because of his handle and the aggressiveness he plays with. Oh, you're talking Premier League. Got you. I'll be honest, I don't follow Premier League at all. I tried to follow Man U for like one season, Man United, but the times, man, it makes it too hard. But like I think games for me start at like 3 a.m. Whereas at least like here in Australia, most Pistons games, like a 7 p.m. tip off for you guys on the East Coast is 11 or 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. for me. So it's right in the middle of my day. We got Cody. I'm going to pull him up now.
What's up, Jack?
How you going, my man?
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about that? Burn the tape.
Well, that's so, yeah. Do you burn the tape or are you concerned? Do you have to?
No, I'm just saying you just have to burn the tape on that game. There's no good takeaways from that game at all. Like not a single one, honestly.
Yeah. No, I think I've been saying I liked a couple of Ron Holland's drives.
I mean, yeah, if you want to reach and grab some stuff, I mean, yeah,
I'm saying that because I am reaching that bad.
yeah, it was a tough one tonight. I mean, yeah, like you said earlier, at the 6 minute mark in the first quarter, you knew it was over. You knew they had no chance coming back. They were so flat.
Yeah. They were
So
so,
flat.
I don't know, man. Do you agree like the energy, there's no energy at all?
There was none. I mean, when you're an NBA basketball team and you have more turnovers than made baskets in a quarter, you didn't come to play. You're just
Yeah.
might as well pack it in. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw what I saw yesterday on social media with them doing a champagne bath after a win, I was like, yeah, we're the biggest loser franchise of all time. That is such a loser mentality moment when you're doing a champagne shower after going to be 1-4. Embarrassing. Embarrassing.
I will say I enjoyed that footage, but yeah, in hindsight, it's probably like I know it's for JB getting his first win with the team, but I enjoyed the content, but
Yeah, I enjoyed the footage. It was fun footage, but at the same time,
yeah,
and most NBA teams expect to get 30 or 40 of these a season at the minimum.
yeah.
So we
No,
treated it like we won the freaking NBA championship.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I can't push back. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna. It was people clowning it now, and some of the Halloween stuff that we saw. Like I get why it's a bit frustrating. Like you only just beat a Philly team who were missing their two best players, and then yeah.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
man, is that like I feel like I've gone through this game a million times, but yeah. Fire away your thoughts. This is your show.
Yeah. All right. I got a million of them.
Hit me.
Cade's got to set the tone. He came out. He didn't. He didn't
Yeah.
set it at all. the offensive possessions were beyond lackluster and stagnant, and we were settling for bad jumpers. Didn't attack Cat at all, which is the most frustrating thing I got out of that early first quarter. Like Cat's not a great defender. He's fine, but for a 7-footer, he's a little bit to me on the softer side inside. Like he doesn't really like to bang and get contact. So you got to go after him early, because we saw actually in the second quarter when Cat was sitting, mainly because the game was out of reach, not because he was in foul trouble or tired or having a bad game. He was killing us all game. But when we went to that when we went to more of a 5-out lineup with Tobias at the 5, that's when they actually had the most success tonight. Was when Tobias was playing the 5.
Yeah.
So I wish they would have attacked Cat earlier, tried to get him, 1 or 2 quick fouls. Yeah, I mean that would have been the biggest thing. I mean, it's tough when you have, Malik and THJ and those type of guys guarding Malik Bridges and OG Anunoby. It just doesn't work. The size just isn't there. So that's the way I think they could have got into this game if they played a little bit better, is getting Cat out of there and then allowing to go smaller and quicker all the way around. But it was over right away. So
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree on the stuff about not attacking Cat. Like they have good perimeter defenders to kind of protect him, but like I just feel like in their first 6 minutes, like they're just settling for so many jumpers, and like they got THJ a couple of nice looks. He didn't knock him down, but you got to attack Cat. Like I feel like you can't let him relax on defense and then come down and cook you on the other end.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Ivy going out right away with 2, because he's like one of the only guys who really can create downhill, which is another problem with this roster. You just don't have enough guys who can attack downhill and get to the lane and create mismatches off the dribble. That makes it tough. But I mean, that's the guy. There's a reason why Minnesota went and got Rudy Gobert. It's because they did not like what Cat can do defensively by himself.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with the Knicks is they have 3+ defenders in that starting lineup. So when you have 3+ defenders at 2 through 4, you can cover up a lot of those mistakes. Like the only guy you're worried about is Jalen Brunson, and he's average enough where those other 3 guys can cover for those mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's just a stark contrast between seeing a really, really, really good team and a really well constructed team. At least starting lineup, because I think the Knicks bench leaves a lot to be desired. But when you get up 39-13 in the first quarter, it doesn't matter where your bench is. So
it really doesn't. And then the bench can just come in and play even more free. Like there's no pressure on those guys, lesser players, to even have to like, you know what I mean? If there's a bit of pressure, then that you might even see that talent gap more with the lack of depth. But when you're up by 26, those bench players come in and just play so free and with confidence that whilst you say, like they lack talent there overall, like it just doesn't matter when that's the score.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, more thoughts, hit me.
I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse because he's pretty dead right now, but Jalen Duren is playing awful basketball.
Yeah.
Like I'm so sick of watching him watch any stretch 5, catch the basketball, and take 3 seconds to close out. Like, I don't know if he doesn't get like or compute that 3 is more than 2 sometimes, because like he literally is the worst at closing out. He's so late all the time. And I think Wes brought up a good point earlier that the guards aren't doing him any favors because the guards have a lot of defensive issues, and we saw that tonight. But the rim protection's not there, the instincts aren't there, the toughness isn't there, the want to isn't there. Like, I hate to say it, but he's regressed, majorly regressed this year. Because now on offense, where is he even there? Like, where is he?
Yeah, that's where I'm starting to think, like, is the confidence just gone these past 2 games? Like, how many did he score tonight? Like, I remember getting 1 putback.
Yeah, I know he had a dunk off a rebound where honestly he could have been called for an offensive foul because he shoved Josh Hart about 10 feet.
Yeah. And the free throw shooting, like that's meant to be one of the positives. Like he's shooting like 50% on the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm not
I
saying it's gone, but like, yeah, I'm with you. The offense has dried up for him majorly.
and I don't know how much longer people can keep using the argument of, hey, Stu is an offensive negative, because he is. But when Duran's a major defensive negative and he's not even giving you 10 and 10 every night, what is he doing for the team? Like, where is he helping?
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, Stu sets harder screens than he does. Like the
Yeah.
only advantage right now that I see in Duran's game is his playmaking, which when you're giving no effort on defense, making no effort on defense, not setting good screens, not rolling hard, not getting offensive rebounds. I don't care if you make two great passes for uncontested threes.
Yeah.
Everything else you're bringing is so negative to the team that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, it's so. What would you do next game?
You have to bench him. You have to start Stu. You have to send a message.
Yeah.
Like, I get JB's new here or whatever, but like you have to be like, Jalen, like, I need more from you. I need more from you right now, and you're not giving it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think he I feel like tonight, like you saw JB pull him early in the third because Cat got two easy buckets. One was a three, one was a drive. So there's clearly like obviously the coaches are aware of it, but like it's very clear to everyone that he's missing these assignments. We're seeing it happen in real time, getting pulled out of the game. So yeah,
Jason's comment here is kind of ironic because I thought Tobias was one of the only players who had a decent game tonight on the whole team.
yeah.
So I mean,
He's
yeah,
starting.
Tobias whole season disappointing, but tonight, I mean, there was you'd be hard pressed to find one guy that I thought was net neutral on the whole team tonight. It was that bad.
It was brutal. It was brutal. But yeah, with the Durant thing, I think start Stu. And like I know Stu's not perfect, but I feel like that's where we're already at after 6 games. And I think what we've seen, like you're not even like Durant looks lost at both ends to me now. Like you said, like at least if the defense wasn't great, he's a lob threat. He still gets you 10 boards. He still has the playmaking, but now it just feels like what is he doing sometimes? He
I mean,
feels really lost.
and that's the thing. I know Wes brought it up, and I made the same note during the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't even sprint back on defense. Like, have pride.
Yeah.
Like, you're jogging up the court on defense when Jalen Brunson's pushing it. And then Jalen Brunson gets a nice kick to Josh Hart, and he cuts back door. And where are you, Jalen? You're at half court because you're not sprinting back and you're not working hard. Like, that's what makes me mad or more mad than anything. Like, you're a professional getting paid a lot of money to do this. Even if you're not playing well, give your max effort. That's the thing I love about Stu. Wes said it best. Maybe not 10 times out of 10, but 9 times out of 10, Stu is sprinting down the floor. Either way, if it's transition, he's sprinting, transition offense, or transition defense, he's sprinting. Jalen, maybe 3 times out of 10, maybe 2. Sorry, I got to fix my headphones.
You're good.
It's just, it's so frustrating to watch a guy who has and that's more and more I see. We talked about it on the first couple times I came up here. I really don't think this guy loves it because what is he doing to show you that he does? Because the guy who loves basketball, even in a slump, is going to work hard and he's going to grind and he's going to try to get out of it. He's not. I really, outside of a couple plays in the Miami game, every other defensive game, I thought he's been dreadful. Yeah. So outside of the Miami game where he had some good looks, he has some good switches, some good come from behind blocks. Every other game, nothing burger for me.
Yeah, and I think the thing, you brought this up on one of our earlier streams as well. Like Jalen just seems like a guy that only plays well when the going's good. Like when the Pistons are playing with energy and on a run, that's the only time he might actually play well. And that's like comes back to the motor and effort. It's like tonight, like just because you have a bad first quarter and the team's bad doesn't mean you can't just go, you know what, I'm going to literally just 5 minutes here, I'm locking in. Like, I know you shouldn't have to ask that, but like, you know, there's still plenty of opportunity in this game for him to show he's there. But
yeah, and I mean, like maybe on a team in the regular season like the Celtics, where you're backup center and they're up 15 and you can come in and give spot minutes,
Yeah.
it's not going to show up. But for a team that needs you, it's going to show up every night. Like, we're not the Celtics. We're not the Lakers. We're not the Suns. We're not, all these teams that are really good.
Yeah.
We need him to show up and play hard, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And it'll be interesting to see if, like, I feel like he's going to be starting on Sunday. I'm with you. I think Shoes should start. But
The only reason I can see, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No, because of
You
Claxton.
finish. Yeah, I was going to say because that's the only reason, because Claxton doesn't give you much offensively.
Yeah.
So, like, I can see that because, like, tonight with a guy like Cat, you need it. Because Stu, he's not gonna be able to check him completely, but he's gonna bother him a lot more than JD is.
Yeah.
Whereas Claxton, I mean, you got to worry about the guards more. I guess that's where the point where you want Stu, because you got Cam Thomas, you got Cameron Johnson, you got Schroeder, you got Dorian Finney-Smith. They got. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I watched a little bit of the Nets the other night. Dude, their offense is humming.
Yeah.
Humming.
Yeah.
They had a few possessions where it was like the 04 Spurs, 04, 05 Spurs with ball movement.
Yeah. No, like, all I'll say is thank goodness they got that win against Philly. It's not going to
They'd be setting the franchise record, no doubt.
Because, I'm nervous for the Brooklyn game, but imagine if we were sitting here 0-6. It doesn't make this game feel any better, really. But, like, man, because like you said, Brooklyn are playing well. Like, they're probably going to finish down the bottom of the standings end of the year, but early on, they're playing with energy. Offense look good. Like, I feel like Schroeder's a guard that just will come and have a great game against the Pistons, lack a perimeter defense. Like, it's gonna be a tough one.
I mean, sorry.
There's a Lions game on.
Yes, that's a good thing. But, like, I listened to Deuce for the first couple minutes before I threw on COD. He said the Pistons are definitely a better team than the Nets. That is false. The Pistons are not a better team than the Nets. They are not. From what I saw, the connectivity on offense, and let me tell you something, they're not great defensively, but Claxton gives you a whole lot more than Duren does. Those guys, the Nets are better than the Pistons.
Well,
the Pistons better be ready to play.
They just got way more mature players, veterans. Like Cam Thomas is young, but Simmons, Claxton, Schroeder, Johnson, Finney-Smith, like, they're all vets that played in playoff games.
Yeah, and
Claxton, but
they're better.
I'm dreading that game. I'll be watching the whole thing and I'll be here doing the stream, but
I'm glad I won't be, to be completely honest. I'm glad I won't be. Because tonight, like if you were like, hey, I'm cutting it off after 3 guests, I would have been kind of upset because I watched that whole slog just to be ready to talk with you. I would have been like, dang, Jack, I just watched that whole game for nothing. I could have been playing COD hours ago.
Oh man, well, fire off some more thoughts. This game's cooked me mentally.
Yeah. Again, I think Tobias Harris was a bright spot. He hit his shots. He made his layups for the most part. Sloppy stuff on offense. Still, his handle's really loose this year. I don't know what's up. I'm not saying he ever had a super tight handle. Like, nobody's saying that, but it's kind of been sloppy. But, like, the only time they really had success was when they ran that 5-out in the first half, when the Knicks were still kind of playing.
Yeah.
Because in the fourth, nobody cared at that point. The game was way to reach. But when the Knicks were still kind of carrying, like, knowing they couldn't let this get to 15 or 12, Tobias in that lineup, it worked really well. And also, shout out Marcus Sasser.
Second shout out for Sasser. I think
he's got no burn this year, and he actually came in. He played tough, hard-nosed defense, and he didn't force anything offensively. He kept the ball moving, and he shot 1 of 2. He made a layup and missed a 3. He kind of did what I would like to see him do. I actually wish he would have shot it more, because the game was already over. Let it rip, dude. You're a great 3-point shooter. Just let it rip. Yeah. Everybody else is missing. Why can't you miss a couple?
No, well, he's kind of the forgotten player in a way. Like, I know he wasn't a top first round pick, but he still picked 24, 25. Like, I was super excited when they drafted him. So I think last year he probably played a little too much and had too much freedom, but that's not his fault. I just looked, he was a plus 12 in a blowout.
Yeah.
So I think that was the highest on the Pistons by far. Like you said, he'd got a layup, an assist, steal. Plus 12. The only positive on the team.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, Sasser played really well tonight and really within himself,
And
which
he
I
played
think to
20
your
minutes.
point, yeah, what I think to your point last year, I think he was given too much freedom and he started trying to do too much because he had that freedom. I think like JB might be keen to try to get him a few minutes a game, not like significant, but maybe try to get Sasser 7 to 10 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And just see if he can't, like, in a pinch, come in, like, especially when Malik and THJ are struggling, maybe he can come in and hit a couple threes. Because let me tell you something. I know THJ and Beasley are about 2 to 3 inches taller than them. They're not giving you more on defense than Sasser is. Sasser's not a great defender, but it's not like you're not losing anything on that end
Yeah.
with putting Sasser in. So it's like if you need a spark plug when THJ and Malik aren't shooting well, like tonight, you can put those guys in.
Well,
Yeah.
he's a guy as well. Like, he had like 27 against the Bucks last year. He had some like quarters last year where he gets hot. Like, he is a bucket. Like, his step back, like the creation, the space he can get. Like, if he's in a rhythm, like, that's someone you can go to for a little bit, not too much. But yeah, I didn't actually notice. Yeah, like being the only positive tonight in terms of plus minus, which isn't the most accurate stat. But you and Wes have both given him a shout out. So
Well, no, because like I said, when the Pistons went to that small lineup and they had to get Ivy out, like Wes said, maybe because of the defense, maybe because of the foul trouble, he came in there and he was steady. He was steady to the rock, and he was everywhere you need to be on defense. He still got scored on because he's giving up. Like he got like Malik Bridges, I think it was either him or OG. He got switched on, and they made a couple turnaround jumpers. He's giving up 6 inches. Like, what do you want him to do? Like,
yeah.
there's only so much, but he was steady tonight. And honestly, probably one of my only positives overall was Sasser, which is what you would expect in a blowout. Because if the only positive is Marcus Sasser, they didn't win.
I'm gonna get out of here in the next 4 or 5 minutes, my man. But where else do you want to take it? Like, so we're gonna say Tobias was, bit of a positive, and then Sasser a positive. Jalen Duran, negative.
Massive negative.
Disappointment.
Malik, THJ, massive negatives.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes back to the conversation we had maybe this after the Celtics game or something. I forget which game it was, but
There's been so many now.
yeah, when we talked about how you need at least 2 or 3 of them to have a good game every night to have a chance, the vets.
Yeah.
We have literally gotten exactly 1, maybe 2 games, the Pacers and the Sixers, where they've played well.
Yeah.
Those games both arguably should have been wins. The other games, yes, they've been competitive. Yes, they've been tight. But like the Cavs game, you need one of them to show up. They couldn't. Tonight, obviously, none of them showed up really. So whatever. The Cavs game, you needed one of them to show up. You didn't get it. It's like you gotta. I guess THJ didn't show up in that game, but
yeah,
you gotta have 2 or 3 of these guys show up every night. And so far, 2 times out of 6, not enough. If they only show up in 33% of the games this year, the Pistons will be right back at the bottom of the lottery again. Which I think everybody expects them to be regardless. But
yeah,
at this point.
What's your overall, like, because I think you've been on every stream except for maybe one by now. And like I feel like we've rode the emotions of it all. Like, I can't believe we're only 6 games in.
Yeah.
Like, it's been 3 months, but overall vibe check. I know tonight's just bad, flat out bad, disappointing, but yeah.
It goes back to what we said. If they steal one of those first couple games, I don't feel nearly as bad.
Yeah.
If they're 2-4 right now and they just got pounded by the Knicks, who I think are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals again, oh well.
Yeah.
That's a much better team at a much deeper place and where they're trying to go than you are. Filled with vets, filled with potential All NBA players, filled with all-stars. Like, that's a better team. It's fine. But the fact that they didn't steal one, now they're sitting at 1-5, like, pray for Pistons fans, pray for Twitter, like Pistons community Twitter, if the Pistons go to like 1-10 or 1-11. Like, pray. And if you look at the schedule, not a real possibility at all. It's sick. I mean, like, they have to beat the Nets. They have to.
Yeah, I know. I wish. Yeah, I mean, I guess look. Either way, if they lost tonight, I still feel like they have to beat the Nets. Like tonight's loss is horrible, but yeah, if they lose to the Nets, whether tonight was close or not, if they lose to the Nets, they'll be. Is it 1-6? Which
1-6.
like, yeah, you'll look back on those couple of games you mentioned and be like, man, that missed opportunities. But yeah, I think if you beat the Nets 2-5, yeah.
I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. I mean, but like you cannot go right back into the same deep dark hole that you were in last year.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Like,
What do you-
go ahead.
No, I'm with you. You cannot, and that's what tonight felt like. It brought back those feelings. But what do you want to see next game? Like
Effort,
yeah,
fight.
yeah,
But that's why I wasn't so mad after the 1-4 start, because in every game they fought till the end. Maybe the Cavs game, maybe not. Maybe Miami at the last 2 minutes. You can find pockets where, but like mostly they fought all the way to the end. Tonight, they fought for precisely a minute and a half, and then they were done.
Yeah,
They rolled over after a minute of a basketball game. When this isn't like baseball, where you go down 6-7, 8-0, you're done. Like it's just like teams come back from 20 all the time.
yeah.
Like 20 is not insurmountable. Yeah. 20 is not insurmountable. But it felt like when they're down 13, it was over. They just quit.
They're just the worst kind of games, aren't they? When you just know, like when you see your team rolling over, whether they admit it or not, like when you just know they're down by 30 and they're not going to come back. Like it's just, it's like, yeah.
It's,
just watching that so painful.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more than I would rather take the heartbreaking losses. You fought for 46 minutes, you crumbled in the last 2 minutes, and you lose by 4 in a game you should have won. Versus, hey, especially if I'm paying fan, I feel bad for the fans that were in LCA tonight. You paid probably, like, let's say you're a family of 4 to go to the game. You probably paid a couple $100, right? Around Christmas time. Like, not everybody has a ton of money, like expendable income. And you're like, I'm taking my kids to the Pistons Knicks game. It'll be fun. And they're literally out of it within the first 6 minutes. Like, as a paying customer, I would be furious if I took my kids to a game, right? I took a date to a game and they were down 30 in the second quarter. I'd be so mad. It would ruin the date. It would ruin family night for me, at least, because I'm a hardcore savage Pistons fan. Like, just compete. I don't care if you lose games. Like, I really don't. But don't just curl up like a scolded dog and go away scared.
Yeah, it felt like that. Like I said about 30 times. I truly, like we've said, felt like it was over after 6 or 7 minutes. You knew it was done. I was trying to be positive, but yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to be positive. Like I said, it's just that's a game where you just don't even you just burn the tape. You just don't even watch it. You don't even look at it. It's just you just get ready for. And hey, if you beat the Nets, you're 2-5. You're probably gonna be 2-6.
Yeah.
But hey, a 33% winning percentage is not the worst. That's 7 or 8 games better than last year. So, like at this point, and like you said earlier with Wes or somebody, I don't know if it was Wes or Deuce, the schedule really softens in the back half, like in November.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have plenty of opportunities to steal wins. Yeah. So like, it's not time to absolutely hammer the red panic button yet. But like, if it's like you see in like movies where there's like a cover of it, it's time to open the cover at least. Like, flick that cover open and maybe
off.
maybe hover your hand over the button.
Yeah. Well, because what you were saying, mate, like you don't want them to be 1-10, 1-11, because then when you start to play the Atlanta Hawks on your home court or the Raptors, your confidence is going to be not in a good place. And then you will start to lose those ones. And then that's where we all get petrified of the massive losing streaks.
And even if you win, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, but you're 1-11. Like you beat the Hawks. Like, who cares? Like
Yeah.
if they can find a way, like let's say amazing timeline here. I don't think it's gonna happen. Let's say they found a way to beat the Nets and the Lakers back to back,
Oh,
which I don't think anyone thinks that's possible, nor do I. With the way they're playing right now, I don't think they can win 2 games on a back to back. Like that's hard for really good teams. But let's say they did, then I'd say those games start to matter more. You're at that point, you're 3-5. You gain some respect back. But if you're 1-11 and you beat the Hawks on a Tuesday night, nobody cares.
yeah.
Like nobody cares.
Yeah, you need to keep that win-loss record. Like it can't get to a point where you've got 10 more losses than your wins, like early in the season. Like we're looking at like 2-12 in November. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't have it. You absolutely can't have it. I'm hoping and I'm praying that they find a way to steal a couple games in the next couple weeks. Because I don't know. It'll be worse for you because you committed to doing this every single night. So like if I don't want to have to see you up here if they're 5-17 and you're like, all right guys, another Pistons loss. What do you guys want to talk about tonight?
I think just need wins every like I'm not expecting back-to-back wins often at all, but just like one every 3 or 4 games.
3 games. I mean that's all we asked for before the season when we made our predictions.
Yeah.
One out of roughly every 3.
Yeah. I think
If you think about it, that's 3 of 9. Every 9 games you play, you win 3 times. That's not asking much.
Yeah. I think that's where I think a lot of us and our expectations lie. So you started 0-4. You probably should have won at least one of those. You beat the 76ers. Now you've had one of those losses. Now your opportunities to win one is against the Nets or Lakers. And I think we all think it's the Nets is the game. So
yeah.
Look, Cody, man, I'm going to wrap it up here, man. I'm sorry I've had to cut it short, my bro. But
No, I know you beat yourself to death over this game. I don't blame you for wanting to cut it off. If it was me and I was running this, I wouldn't have even gotten close to 2 hours and 17 minutes. So you're a trooper. You're more of a trooper than I am, buddy.
No, but we will definitely. I know you won't be here for the Nets game, but if they win, I'd love you to jump on for a minute if we're still going. But I'm sure you'll be back maybe after the Lakers game. But as always, tell the people where they can find you. You're becoming a resident guest here. You've been on, I think, every stream bar one, I think. So
yeah, everyone but the first one. Everyone but the first one.
Absolutely love having you on, man, and we'll get you on earlier next time. But yeah, thank you for jumping on.
No problem, man. So No Fly Zone 906 on Twitter. Just gonna keep tweeting. Hopefully I can tweet more positives because tonight I was very, very negative the entire game. I apologize for calling the Pistons mega. You know what? But they were tonight. But yeah, No Fly Zone 906. I'll be on here a lot. And yeah, as always, like, subscribe, follow Jack. It was cool. I'm gonna have to go back and watch because I missed Austin because I was deep in the COD grind. But I'm gonna go back and listen to what he had to say. Just I just encourage everybody to keep coming up. Like, just Jack's obviously trying to get new people up, so hit those DMs, man.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, always love having you on. So you have a good night. Enjoy COD. I know you won't think about the Pistons, but yeah, man. Hopefully we can talk about some more positive stuff. But thank you for waiting for so long and coming up and sharing your thoughts.
No problem, man. It's double XP weekend, so I'm gonna be grinding.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, thanks, man. See you later.
All right, bye. All right, guys. I'm just going to quickly scan the comments here. Sorry, I haven't brought a few up. I'm not going to lie. I'm struggling to keep this going. We've been going for 2 hours, 18 minutes. So I'm just going to read a couple now before we get out of here. Jason brings up one here. What do you guys think about going after Dennis Smith Jr. and Fultz to back up Caden Ivey? We kind of spoke about Fultz I think when Austin was on. I'm not against it at all. I think an extra ball handler would help this team. But look, Cody raised some good points about Sasa and so did Wes. So maybe we could lean into Marcus a little bit more before you sign one of those vets. But I I know both those two options there, they can't really shoot the three ball consistently, but I think some extra ball handling and Dennis Smith Jr. is an excellent on-ball defender. I think that could help for sure. Who else we got here? I got some stuff in here. Pistons need a front court that works. That's fair. I think, yeah, the center position is the thing letting them down right now, as we've discussed at length. This will be the last one. I would keep Caden Ivey. I think they can be a great dual force, but everything else on the table. I think a lot of Pistons fans would agree with you. I think a lot of fans probably still have a SAR with Caden Ivey, but I think that is definitely a fair statement for sure. I think whilst tonight was horrible to watch, I think a lot of people are still very high on Caden Ivey and what we've seen so far this season. But that's going to do it for today's show, guys. Disappointing game. Very disappointing, to say the least. But I appreciate all of you in the comments. I've tried to bring them up as much as I can. So thank you so much for, being involved and just being engaged. It means a lot to me. I try and get to all of them, but I just want to as well implore you, if you want to come up. We had Austin tonight on his first time. We had Deuce as well, who's more of a content creator podcaster, but anyone's welcome up here. I want to get as many Pistons fans on here as I can. I want to chat to you all. So whilst I absolutely love the comments, if you feel up to it, come share your thoughts on the mic, because all you need is I'll just DM you a link, you click on it, and literally you can talk to me on your phone. Cody's been doing it on his phone. I think a couple of other people have. So you don't need a big podcast set up or anything like that to come and chat. So please come up, jump in my DM, send me a message if you want to be a part of it, because we're going to be here every game. We'll be back for the Nets game on Sunday. But until then, as always, go Pistons.